Hello, welcome to episode 10 of Trade Movies Podcast. This is probably going to be a short intro today. I don't really have a lot of updates. Today I'm talking with Molly McLean, who is a comedian, clown. She's a comedian and clown. Like, I'm not trying to insult her. She, does clowning on TikTok and Instagram. She's great. Her TikTok and Instagram are great follows. She picked today Morgiana or Morgiana. If you know how to say this name, please tell me in the comments or something, because I don't think either of us really knew. By Juraj Hers, who did The Cremator, Czechoslovakian guy. Great movie, really liked it, a lot of great fits in it, and so I picked Written on the Wind, which I was excited to watch again because it's got Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries, Rock Hudson, Lauren Bacall, Dorothy Malone. It's a Douglas Sirk. I love these movies. This might be his best movie. It's hard because he has so many good ones. Oh, also, my mic flexed up a little bit on this. I don't know what happened, so sorry for like an hour or so. So yeah, a lot of fun. Not a lot of updates today, so yeah, enjoy the show. And go follow her on TikTok and Instagram, and see you in a bit.
Throw some colors on the screen and paint me black and white. I want to see a thief in a gunfight or a heroine wounded in love. You can keep her lighted by an old flame left to frame, so I can read the feeling on her face, half in shadow, and know I felt that too. In danger and in love, you've got the dreams I was dreaming of, and I've got 2 hours to pretend. So I watch a movie with a friend. Time's running sideways, and reality's gotta meet me halfway. So I'll meet it here again. Here's the Trading Movies Podcast with friends.
Hello, I'm here with Molly McLean, who is a comedian. Find her on Instagram at MOLLMCLEA. That's Molly McLean with the last letter knocked off. On TikTok at Molly McLean. She just had a show called Made Up at the Elysian Theater in Los Angeles on April 25th, and it will be in Portland this summer. And she has other shows once in a while in Los Angeles and Portland. And so, yeah, follow her on those accounts. And welcome to the show, Molly.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So we today, we watched, it's behind me somewhere, but we watched, Molly had picked Morgiana. Is it Morgiana or Morgiana? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it probably depends what language you're speaking, but I think we would say Morgiana.
Yeah, because my name's Jeff with a G, I'm always, whenever I see a G, tempted to do like the J sound, or the G sound, I should say. But yeah, I don't know. And so I picked Written on the Wind. I'd seen Written on the Wind, but I hadn't seen Morgiana, and it seemed like something around like identity and everything else. So these were some fun movies. So we'll get into those in a second. I did want to ask, so another random connection. Molly is the second Tacoma person that I'm interviewing. Molly and I went to the same college. Molly with a better career than I did. So yeah, you went to Puget. Are you from Tacoma originally?
I'm from Portland.
Portland, okay. That's cool.
But my grandpa actually lived in Tacoma as a child. He was, so he said, one of those kids doffing and waving their caps, selling newspapers, going, "War is over, war is over."
That's cool.
Over on Broadway. Yep.
That's very cool. Like after World War II, I presume. That's neat. Yeah.
No, Vietnam.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're very young.
It was
Yeah.
protracted.
Yeah. Honestly, that's cool. Yeah, I lived up on 6th Street there at Puget Sound, and I went for 2.5 years before getting booted out. So that was a lot of fun. It was well, I don't know if it was a lot of fun. I think I did a video about the Elephant Man. That was my experience, if you want to know about that one.
You're like, and that was me.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of rich kids up there, and I never really met a lot of rich people from like well-off families. And so I felt very alienated, I guess is probably the word. In retrospect, I was so stupid, and I'm still so stupid. Very, very, very dumb. But like at the time, I just knew nothing about anything. And I didn't know it. Like, I couldn't even tell what was going on with me. I got sick a whole bunch. The Pacific Northwest just does not agree with me. Like, I got like swine flu, and I got like mono. It was really bad. I take some incompletes. But we
Yeah,
had some of the same
mono.
theater professors. That's cool.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
really, I really liked. The reason why I wanted to go there, I mean, a bunch of reasons, but I went there and I was like, well, the people seemed more down to earth than another kind of liberal arts school that I had went to visit.
Ooh, which one? Let's
Um,
shame them.
it was, it was Bard.
Okay.
Um, I had gone there and the people were so pretentious that I was like, okay, I'm pretentious, but I'm not like this
Mm.
bad. Um, and also it just happened that the night I was there, like we were going to a party and like a cop pulled us over and said that it was illegal to have someone like sitting on someone else's lap. It's like, bro, like, come on. He was just like excited to arrest people.
That's a
Not
Bard.
arrest, but find them. Anyway,
Yeah. Harass people. That was a Bard.
yeah. Whereas at
Yeah.
Puget Sound, people, well, I think that was a blessing and a curse. People didn't really care about academics very much.
Mm.
And my mom kind of, before I went there, my mom was like, Molly, are you sure you want to go there? Like, they have a football team.
Was it still terrible when you went there? I remember they
Yeah,
were
of
like,
course.
yeah, they were
Like,
god
what are you
awful.
talking about, mom? Like, she wanted me to only be very academic, but
Uh,
I was, and so some of my friends, we cared a lot. I think that's just how it is. Like, you have to put in a lot of effort, and that's what you're gonna get. Otherwise, you
yeah,
can just like be stoned all the time there.
I did enjoy a lot of the professors there. I will say, like like of all the memories I have about the place, it's like largely, honestly, largely a lot of it's gone because I was doing a lot of drugs and drinking at the time. That was
Right.
probably not great. Uh, yeah, I'm very very glad I didn't have more money because I probably would have died at that point.
I know. Literally, I
Yeah,
was like, that is one of the blessings of like not getting an allowance. It's like I had all
yeah.
these friends who had allowances and just like were stoned 24 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot of coke for me.
Oh,
It
dang.
was, yeah, it was not a great time.
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. Yeah, it was a lot of everything. To be honest with you, but I'd never really done any of that stuff in high school. I came from a really rural East
Hmm.
Tennessee place, so it was like, um, I remember. Did they still have what is it, Praxis Imago up there, like the film thing? I might have ended that. I might have like literally ended. I wouldn't be surprised if I like ended like it was like the student film competition they had, or Praxis Imago or something like that. I might have ended it. That might have been my fault. I was because I was very there was like a student, they had like this like student film short competition, and like somehow or another this was on them honestly, but they like hired me or something to like be like the person who like ran that.
Hmm.
Terrible move, absolute god awful move. um I think I got fired from like every job I had on that campus. It was really bad. Yeah. But they I remember they hired, like I was supposed to like film the footage of like the end of semester celebration, and I was following around this like class president or like whatever that we had, and he was dressed in like this skin tight Superman outfit,
Oh.
and he was like extremely gay, um, like, and he was just interviewing people. It's the funniest thing I ever did, and like I was just fucked up on everything at the night, and I went and like to edit the footage the next day, and it was just shaking, and I was just laughing the whole time,
Oh
and so
my
that was just
God.
like it was just like the whole like 2 hours of me just like completely unusable. Like the audio was off for like half of it, so it was
I
a
love
fun
how it's
time.
like you messed up the audio and the footage.
Yeah,
It's
messed up
like,
everything. That's
uh,
cool. I did really like, honestly, like the professors, to your point. Like, yeah, like I did like a lot of them. That's
mhm.
where I saw a lot of films that I talk about on my channel, so that was cool. Did you take
Yeah.
film classes up there?
No, I didn't take any film classes, but I still feel like, I mean, movies are a lot like plays, guys. Um, and I learned a lot. I also enjoyed the professors that I had, and the three professors that I think shaped like the way that I read stories the most was Jeff. Actually,
Shout out Jeff
I think
Kroll.
the other guys, yeah, Jeff Pearl, but then I think the next guy's also name was Jeff as well.
Mm.
Jeffrey Block. He taught in the music department, I don't
Right.
know if you ever had him, but I took a class from him. Oh my God. It was called Broadway, The History of Musicals.
Really?
And I think about it all the time. And I was the only one in the class who cared. I was
Yeah.
literally like, it was humiliating. I mean, it wasn't humiliating because I didn't know anyone else in the class. So I was like, I had the liberty to just like act like a complete nerd. And also, I was like, I think it was my junior year. So I just like didn't care what people thought of me. So I was just like, uh, he was like, what words do they rhyme in the song that you guys were supposed to like listen to over the weekend? And I was like, croon spoon. Like anyway, I was really I
Really
was
into
really locked in,
musicals?
really into
Did you
musicals
grow up as
and
like a musical like theater
lover.
person or theater person? Were you?
Yeah,
Because
I
I
didn't.
had never. That was like I'd never. High school in East Tennessee, I'd never taken a theater. Like we didn't have a theater program. We didn't have an AV program.
Bro.
I didn't know what a theater kid was. Like when I went out, that was a real shock. Yeah.
Literally, it's such a. I was thinking about this. I think about this watching movies or plays sometimes when I'm like, all the best actors are British because they actually have like theater classes
Yeah.
there. Um,
Yeah.
and actually, and as a theater teacher, a lot of times when I would be looking for curriculum, uh, a, a lot of curriculum that they have a much more developed curriculum because it's like a mandatory course. Now, of course, I'm sure someone in the comments in Britain will be like, "It's not." I don't know. I don't know the exact specifics, but I know that
Yeah.
you can.
We'll make it mandatory if you. Yeah. So no complaining. We
That's
beat
right.
your ass. We beat your ass once. I think.
Anyway, so yes, when I was really little, my grandma, I used to go over to her house and she uh we would watch I remember watching West Side Story, Unsinkable Molly Brown, uh
Did
Oklahoma
she
or
watch that
maybe
with you because of your
Carousel.
name? Is that is that
Maybe.
just like a name thing? Cool.
That was
I don't think I've seen that.
um what else? Annie Get Your
Bandwagon,
Gun.
Calamity Jane. Like I haven't seen a ton of musicals. That's the other thing. My dad, like I'm a late arriver to musicals because my dad. It's like a joke in my like kind of immediate family. He's probably seen like a million movies and he likes every movie. That's kind of where I get
Oh,
a lot of that
awesome.
because I tend yeah he likes he's a big mark. But he doesn't really like musicals. It's weird. That's the one thing he doesn't like. He's just won't look them out. But he'll watch like Sharknado 9 every day. Like he's seen like every sci-fi movie, like Sci-Fi Channel awful movie. But he won't watch like yeah, you know.
And this is what's wrong with this country.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Sinners, just watched that the other day. Musicals are back. Did you see Sinners?
I have not. Is it good? I
The
think you're the
mute.
second
I mean,
person.
who's brought it up?
Yeah.
Well, it's I loved it, and the music, the songs, and dancing give character development and move forward plot and raise stakes, and thus, in my mind, it's a musical.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea it even had musical numbers. I try not to look like anything like
I
very
know
little up about a movie, you know. So I yeah.
people have been like posting on Instagram stories about it, so I did know.
Mm,
And now I'm not going to tell you anything else then, because
sweet. Yeah, I want to. I was actually thinking. I was talking to my friend last night because I want to see it, but like my three people I live with don't really. I mean, they're okay on like new movies, but I don't know how much interest they have in it. But my other buddy will go see anything, and so we were thinking. I was like, I wonder because Nashville has a 70 millimeter IMAX thing, so I was like, oh, we should go drive and go see it there. It's not playing there for whatever reason. They only made like, even though there's only 30 theaters in the U.S. that'll show IMAX 70 millimeter, they only made like 10 copies, and so yeah, it's bummer. So I guess I'll probably just see it on whatever local. We do have like a couple good IMAX theaters because Knoxville, where I live, is the Homer Regal, so we
what?
have like a
Oh
really
my God.
good randomly.
I love that. Like, where any like city across the country, it's like, I love when people are like, well, it's the home of,
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean,
I think Portland, that would be like, it's like, oh, it's like Adidas. And
yeah,
it's like, well, no one else really knows that. But if you're from that place,
Well,
it
yeah.
feels obvious.
Yeah, I wasn't sorry. I didn't mean to shame you for not knowing that Knoxville is the
No,
home of
no,
the
no.
movie.
I just
Yeah.
no. I love that. It's a
Yeah.
fabric of this nation.
We don't have a lot of business. I think we have like Regal and we have like Clayton Homes. I want to say was like the big. I was actually laughing at your video on colleges because it's you're not it's not a video on
Oh,
colleges, but it was like she was like finding something about colleges. It's always great bit on a podcast to repeat a bit back to a comedian, but I'm by the mobile oil corporation sign was the video of like finding something at a college and it's like I'm by the mobile oil corporation something like a veranda or something. What's funny is when I got booted out of Puget Sound, it reminded me literally when I had the person who wrote my recommendation. I won't name and shame him just in case, but the professor there who I really liked said like when he was addressing to my second college, which is in Maryville College, and it's located on the Lamar Alexander Parkway. So he wrote me a thing. He's like, I hope I addressed this right. I've never addressed anything to something called the Lamar Alexander Parkway before. I was like, that's nice. But it's named after our shitty old senator, who was a senator for like 70 years. The college is nice.
I was on this team in high school where there was this there was this girl on the team who just kind of seemed very wealthy, and
Mm.
one time we had a competition that was on Country Club Lane, and in our email the coach was like, Audrey should know how to get there.
Jeez.
To me that's one of the funniest things anyone has ever said. um
Are they like? Did they like mean it? Kind of like, or they're just like, oh yeah, she's like. Did they
it
know
was
or
like
just assuming?
banter. It was
Oh,
banter.
banter. Gotcha.
Cheeky.
Sweet. Yeah, that's cool. You know what I miss out in Tacoma? I think I mentioned this in the episode with Gabe. Was Quickie 2 out there? Is it
I don't know what
still?
that is. Oh, I did hear you talk about that. It's like a vegan Jamaican place. I didn't go out to eat
Yes.
much. I literally was like eating oatmeal.
Ah, yeah. Did you go to Goofy Goose? What about that? At
No.
least on sick.
I
Damn, you
really like
missed.
didn't go out. I actually that's not true. Sometimes I would go to like a breakfast place. Like I went to Shaka Bra and there was another like diner. Like if my
Mm,
parents were in town. Even went to Denny's. I
mm.
don't know.
The Denny's
Because
was
with my
nice. There was that Denny's near, like in the grocery store parking lot. I remember I went for
I think that
Thanksgiving
must
one
have been
year.
it.
Yeah, that was a
Oh
great
God.
Denny's. Yeah, it was me and my buddy and a bunch of divorced dads. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's tough.
yeah. It was like seeing my future. I was like, this is wonderful. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
but did you ever go to the movie theater downtown? There was like an
I
art
don't.
house movie theater,
I think I did.
Grand
Yes,
Cinema.
yes, I did. I saw. What did I see there? I saw The Class there, and with my at the time girlfriend, which was good because she was a French major, and it
Oh.
was a French movie. So we went and saw it. It was called The Class. This was I think 2000. It was pretty good. It was like about like a French teacher in like
Oh,
a kind of inner city French school in
I
like
okay.
2009, 10 or something like that. I remember liking it. And I think we saw Little Miss Sunshine or maybe the second thing,
Mhm.
Sunshine Cleaning or maybe something by that. Yeah. I went to I would yeah, it's probably gone. I went to the DVD stores a lot, Buzzards and this other one that still had a porno section.
Uh,
I can't remember the name of it, but it was right near campus. But I remember just even in 2009, that was kind of wild that they had like a back room with just like a was a rental porno section. I was like, that's
yeah.
I didn't know these still existed. Even then,
I
I don't
think
think it's
that's
there
probably
now.
good to make you sort of a little bit more responsible for your viewing.
Like as a porno viewer,
Yeah.
just like to have to go rent it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's probably would be better if there was just a little bit of yeah, because it had to. I think it probably set it up as like it had to be a little bit more artistic. I could, that's probably a very good point. Like when it comes to like disc versus movies, and just like honestly, like versus streaming, because versus streaming, it's like you can start, you can stop, you can start, you can stop. But if you have to go to a store, you kind of have to think about it a little bit more. Of
Hmm.
like, I got to rent this. I got to like, get involved with it more. Probably the same thing. I never thought about that for like porno viewing, porno viewing experience, but yeah, probably pretty. That's a great point.
I and I
I didn't never rented a porn from there. I will say, just to shout out for all that. Not that I have anything against it, but just never.
all right.
Yeah.
It is a different experience. Well, for this movie, Morgiana, I picked it because I was on Pinterest and I saw an image from it.
Had
Um,
you seen it before?
no, I
Sweet.
just really liked the way that it looked, and I actually chose my outfit today as a slight homage.
Very nice. I
um,
was thinking it's very Morgiana coded.
so anyway, just in terms of like back in the day, used to go to the DVD store, video store, pick things out based on that experience. But also, me growing up after that era, uh, Pinterest, and then I mean before that, I I got a lot of movie education from Tumblr. Like I would see film
Mm.
stills, and it just sort of adds to someone's repertoire. Uh, the film stills, or I would be like, oh, I want to watch a movie, or I don't want to watch that movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I never was on Tumblr. I don't know. Like I was always kind of afraid of it. It just always seemed like something that I was not cool enough for. Like I never considered. Like there's just like everyone on there seems so knowledgeable and cool, and like yeah, there'd be film stills and like these real arty things. Like I don't know anything about this. But is that how you generally pick movies? Like do you see like film stills or like how? What is your like if you sit down Friday night, it's Molly time, or you're
I
with a
really
friend?
I don't watch a lot of movies because I try to be very like I only want to watch movies that I think will like that I will make meaning of and really enjoy. So
Mm,
I don't see a lot of movies in the movie theater. And even here, like I don't I I think it's because like 3 years ago I I I had a kind of revelation where I was like, oh, movies and it pornography and all this sort of stuff have so many bad effects on women's lives. And
ah,
me and my friend used to be like, no more movies. That was kind of our slogan,
I
which
can't
is a
believe I
joke.
invited you on the podcast.
I know.
Yeah, an
Like,
enemy.
I'm taking
Yeah.
them down. But part of it is just like, so I think after that I was like, okay, like I really want to put a lot of like thinking into like what I watch and like um how I watch it and all that kind of stuff. And so I think now if I'm going to watch a movie, A, I have to see a film still and be quite moved by it, as I was for Morgiana. So cool. Or B, I need to have heard like three people talk about it, and it
Mm,
seems to be culturally significant, and it has to be like somehow related to something that I'm interested in, whether that's um, women or history or
yeah.
theater or art, um, uh, something like that.
Yeah. Why? I'd be curious about, um, like, what is the, I guess, like, what are the negative impacts you think they've had? When I'm not trying to like interrogate you, like defend your position or whatever, but just like curious, like, for me, like, that's an interesting point of like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. I'm struggling to think of a way to like phrase the question, but, yeah, I guess could you expound on that a little? Like what are the obviously there's like the male gaze, like all the like it's like the general cultural thing of like I think there's been two best winner directors of the or best director winners of the Oscar. I think like Catherine Bigelow maybe, and I can't remember the other lady that won it. But obviously it's been like a male dominated field. Is it like because it's been like an art form predominantly like done by men at least from
I
like
think
the yeah.
the main uh, thing that I've been thinking about over the past several years, and I tried to make a short film about this. I did,
Sweet.
where a lot of men have fantasies and they uh, make them as art pieces, but there's no recognition or playing with the fact that this is a fantasy. It's they sort of disguise it, in my opinion, not all the time, but they sort of act like it's not a fantasy, like this is just their like artistic view, and there's absolutely no recognition that they have gender, or that they have any sort of like distorted view of the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So the video that I made, which I've broken it up and posted it as TikToks, is, for example, like this is based on this guy that I met on a train platform who actually in a train.
The anime one?
Similar. So that's part of the video. So there's like 3 parts. So yes, there's the anime guy.
I watched that whole video this morning.
Okay, there you go. So that was just kind of what I'm getting at. It's like these people who are like, oh, like I love anime. But it's like, well, you're actually attracted to like these like portrayals of women. I mean, this specific character.
Yeah.
And there's like, they never admit it. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine. Like, I don't care. But just like
in the movie.
Just play with it in some way, or, you know. And the other example was like this guy who's like, oh, I'm like an artist. I do oil paintings or whatever. And they only paint ass, basically.
Sick.
Or this other guy I met, he was like, oh, yeah, I really want to do The Seagull, which is one of the best Chekhov plays. And he was like, but everyone's naked. And I'm like, I can't even have a conversation with you at that point. It's like, what is that?
I could have we might be very different people. I could have such a conversation with that person. Not like because I want to see it naked. I don't know that really The Seagull, but I would be like, I'd ask him like, what is up with you? You know, like why are you like that? Yeah.
Why are you like that? And I think, and I've also gotten really, the other thing about film and like film history is just like I've gotten really inspired by I haven't kept up with her blog. I don't even know if she's still posting, but Anna Billard, who made The Love Witch, she used to be posting all these great essays about film. They're very easy to read. And one of the things she talked about is just sort of like and you probably know about this, but it's like a sort of rewriting of film history that a lot of people will do, where they don't talk about the fact that a lot of movies used to be made for women, by women, and that there was she talks a lot about like a backlash against the feminist movement, like in the 70s and 80s. Like there was a lot, especially, I mean, and those are the movies that like are sort of the mainstream movies for our culture, like right now. I mean, or like the movies that our parents liked and stuff like that are these backlash sort of movies.
That's a great point.
Yeah, you should really read her blog. It's really good. But I mean, I'm just sort of basing it off of her.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because, you know, I started like, I don't know how long ago, but I started like probably like 3 or 4 years ago. I'd always like loved movies and tried to like, you know, I was a theater major but then a classics major. I was a pre-med, then theater, then classics, then like whatever at Puget Sound. Then I ended up being a writing major, but everything I did always ended up around movies. But then I got into, you know, graduated and kind of went away from it because it made me sad to think that I wasn't doing anything with movies. But like 3 or 4 years ago, probably had some type of mental break, and it was just like, also I switched to like doing like intermittent fasting. So I was like, what's the way to just kind of reward me for not eating the whole day? And I was like, well, I'll just watch a movie with dinner. And so I just started watching a movie every day. And so I've probably seen, you know, just, you know, 1,200 movies or so, like, you know, something like a movie every day, basically, for like years and years. And just started like sort of getting back into them super heavily, like I was in like high school, college, and, you know, a little bit past that. But it's interesting that I didn't know there were so many of these movies that, you know, I think probably the ones you called like women's picture, not you call them women, but movies made for women or whatever. That is a totally great point, because like, yeah, I think like most of the movies that I had seen growing up, like I think my older brother and one of my older brothers and my dad probably like, yeah, the height of sort of critical consensus. I mean, my dad is born in 59. Social security number is, no, I'm not going to say that, but like he was born in 59, and like, so he probably, you know, around that time, yeah, there's like a real backlash to the stuff in like the 30s, 40s, 50s that
Mhm.
in retrospect, I think I just made a video on like the Monster Mellow horror. I think did have a lot more representation.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I was actually, now that you say that, I'm like doubly glad I picked Written on the Wind, because that is like specifically a women's picture. But also there was a great essay in the thing. I didn't know you were a theater major until after I picked it to sort of pair with it. But there's a great essay about, apparently Douglas Sirk was a big Bertolt Brecht guy, who's a guy that
Ah,
I think learned from
interesting.
Prohl. I want to say I took a class with Prohl at Puget Sound, or he went over him, or whatever. But he was like very self consciously. The essay's great. It's by, I think it's Blair McClendon, the editor of After Sun, which is a great movie. And yeah, he talks about like the other thing you were mentioning about like there's not like sort of like introspection or like an awareness of what they're doing. But
Mm.
apparently Cirque was like, because he was like a Brett guy, was like so like aware of sort of like, he tried to be like specifically aware of like this and like specifically present it so theatrical and so melodramatic, and like
Mm.
as a way to like examine all of it, which I'd never considered his movies like that, even though I love his movies. But yeah, I just thought that was that was interesting. Yeah, and that's honestly the great thing about watching, for me at least, like getting into, like, I didn't realize the extent to which, yeah, it's like a lot of the stuff in the 70s is regarded as like a great, like one of the best film decades or whatever, or like, you know,
Yeah.
70s 80s. But I, not for me, like it's not that I like
Me
it, but it
neither.
doesn't hold a candle to like the 50s or the 40s, or for me personally, you know, I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
right, but yeah.
Um, Absolutely. Except for I do love Opening Night, the Cassavetes movie. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I have not. I do like, yeah, I did like Killing the Chinese Bookie by him. It's a good movie. Bunch of gross
um,
guys in that, so I identify with it.
I know I didn't
Yeah,
finish that one actually, or
yeah,
even Mikey and Nikki, but I like the ones with Jenna Rollins.
yeah.
But it's
Mikey Nicky, directed by a lady, right? Elaine May, I want to say.
no, no, that was wait, am
I
I
think
wrong?
he stars in it with
But
I
Elaine
believe that
May
was,
directed it. I could see
yeah,
that. I could see that.
yeah.
Oh my God! By the way, another great movie. What the f is that called? The movie. The doesn't matter.
Does
Whatever.
it have Elaine May?
No, she directs it and her daughter's in it and oh my God. Anyway,
Is it a
it's
Heartbreak Kid or a New
Heartbreak
Leaf?
Kid.
Okay, pull up her. I have to be my own Jamie from the Joe Rogan Experience on the show, but kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. The Go ahead.
This is what I want to say about your Brecht thing is
Yes. Yeah.
this
Do you
movie,
know? I
Written on
don't
the
know
Wind.
about Brecht that much. I just remember
Okay.
bits and pieces. So, yeah, please, theater.
Well, I hadn't thought of him and this movie together. The thing that I was going to say is this movie, Written on the Wind, really reminded me of. I asked my grandma like last year because when she moved to this country, she was an au pair for a family in Berkeley.
Okay.
And I was like, what are those children up to now? Like, do you keep in contact with them? And she was like, wealth ruins people. And I was like, this is how I felt about that. I feel like that's
Yeah.
my grandma's attitude towards wealth was basically how this movie was. It's like it
Hmm.
corrupts and it um, sickens, debilitates, makes one
Yeah.
impotent,
Yeah. Oh my God,
even though it
the
doesn't.
phallic imagery in this movie. When we go through the fits, I tried to screenshot all the different phallic
Oh,
imagery and horse themes through Written on the Wind. I can't wait to do a video on this. It's actually driving me crazy. I might do one like after this podcast just to like highlight all of it, because
I thought
like,
it was. Oh yeah,
go ahead. Sorry. No, after you.
there was a lot of gray
Yeah.
clothing.
Great clothing. I thought like, so the first time I watched it, like it's probably like the second Douglas Sirk movie I'd watched, and honestly, I'm just like, I just get stunned by the visuals of it. Just, I love, he's my favorite cinematographer, Russell Meddy, and I just start weeping. But like, I didn't realize, I'd read some stuff about, after the first time I watched it, about like the themes of like I got a lot of gay. There's a lot, fellas. There's a lot of gay shit in this movie. I
Mm,
mean that like, obviously, shout out to all my gays, but there's a lot of trans shit. I don't know why this. I
mm,
don't hope that's not offensive. Yeah. There's a lot of, I didn't realize the extent to which that like, I read a bunch of trans readings of this, And that I thought was fascinating about this movie, sort of in retrospect of like when you said the gray suit, that was one thing. There's a great thing on the special features. I can't remember her name, Patricia something. I want to say Patricia Highsmith, but I know it's
Yeah,
not. I
that's
think
right.
that's the lady.
Oh wait.
Well, that's
Oh
but
right.
it's not her. Yeah, I'm
That's the
saying.
author.
Yeah, that's the talented Mr. Ripley lady, I think.
Mhm.
But there's another lady, Patricia something, who's on the DVD, and she talks about the gray suit as well. So like she was like,
Oh.
you know, as like a metaphor at the end when Dorothy Malone is finally like sort of past her slut phase, and you know she's now the gray suit, and she's stroking the big oil derrick right in front of the picture of her
Oh
dad
my
holding the oil
God.
derrick.
Oh right. That was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, wild movie.
I think to me the reason why I struggled with this movie was I feel like all the characters were just a little. I mean, it was like you're saying, he meant it to be really melodramatic, over the top, and it just was like all the good characters were too good, and all the bad
Mm.
characters were too bad. I think um, I would have liked it more if they were a bit more in between.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. That's the other video I'm planning on doing that. So like that is a style to which I've grown to.
Mm.
The more I watch it, the more I love like this sort of over the top melodramatic style. And
Uh,
that the lady talks about that in the video where it's like she made a good point that I'm gonna try and call out in the video doing it, but it's like she says like they tell you everything 5 times. It's like they'll tell you it
yeah.
visually, they'll tell you it with the score, they'll tell you with the costume, they'll tell you with the dress, they'll
Mm.
tell you with the set, they'll tell you it
Love it.
everything. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So you struggled with it. So yeah, what's the official Molly rating on Written on the Wind?
Uh,
What is your rating scale? Do you do like dislike? Do you do like out of 10, out of 7?
well, I do love the on cinema style, sort of meaningless bags.
I love it.
Um, so 10 bags and one oil derrick. Or no,
Okay.
one corn liquor bottle.
Yeah. One tiny phallic representing Derringer pistol that you keep under the bed.
Oh
Or you
yeah.
keep under
Oh
your
my
pillow.
God.
That poor guy.
Ah.
Are you a fan? So my brother, this is one of my brother Ty's. Shout out my brother Ty. He's so fucking funny. But he
Shout
is
out my
like
sisters.
shout out Molly's sisters. Yeah. Do you have a brother? Do you have sisters?
I have two older sisters. They're both awesome.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I have 2 older brothers. So, yeah. I was going to say youngest. Definitely youngest vibes. That was actually one of my questions while I was writing my questions down in my notes is just why are you the way you are? But that kind of
Oh.
explains a little bit. Yeah. Molly has a fascinating TikTok account. I mean that in the best way. Yeah. I was laughing. I literally put just like vids to honestly just fangirl, but the dancing like a baby that should have a trillion views. I don't know why. If you listening to this, go. I don't know even how to get search on TikTok's weird, but if you just scroll through all her videos, to watch all of her videos, and then just look up the dancing like a baby one where she danced like it's the most baby coded dance I've ever seen. The one where you know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you.
Yeah.
There was an old viral video that my friends used to imitate of a baby dancing, so it's also an homage to them.
Nice. Look at that. It's deeper meaning. Yeah. So, yeah. So 10 bags of popcorn, 1 oil derrick. How'd you like Morgiana? What are your thoughts on that?
13 bags of popcorn, I would say.
Nice. Okay.
I mean, actually, I think it kind of could have been, I did fall asleep at the end, but I fall asleep in a lot of movies. That's another
Mm.
reason why I can't watch too many movies.
Nice.
I fall asleep. Okay.
Yeah. We could
but
never be friends. I would.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, my aunt, though, she was once like, I fell asleep during my favorite movie. It was Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. She was like, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I felt so good. She was like, so it's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
And actually, Jeff
That's
Kroll,
valid. Yeah.
we went to go see Raisin in the Sun at, I think, the Seattle Rep or something, and my friend was super hungover, and so she was like kept nodding off, during the play, and she was super embarrassed because she was sitting right in front of our professor. And at intermission, without even saying anything, he was just like, Hannah, like, do you want my jacket to like sleep under? Like, and Hannah was like,
That's so nice.
And he was like, in Japan, in no theater, their plays are meant to be slept through. So it's just another experience. It's another way of experiencing the play.
That's very sweet. He's such a sweet guy. Shout out Jeff Prohl. Yeah, he was very nice to me when I was. It's such a huge when I was at the time. It still continued. I was such a huge idiot when I was like. I really liked what's her. I can't even remember the name. The lady who wrote Dr. Faustus Lights the Lights. I can't remember
Gertrude Stein.
That's the one. Yeah. So I just turned in like a whole paper play that was just like that's just gibberish, and he was very nice about it. He's like, I can't really grade this, but he's like, you gotta write, you gotta give me something like alongside this, because like this is not something I can really grade. He's like, you understand why? I was like, okay, but he was also very, he actually like I remember did he do the rant? I remember he said he had this like rant that he does of like at the beginning of class, like when he puts the chairs in the circle, like because he's like he was talking about like the theatricality of teaching. Even he's like, because he was talking about. I think it might have even been a lesson on Brecht, but he was saying like even from a classroom perspective, it's like we come in and all the chairs are set up facing the teacher. So he's like just by default. So he always puts them in a circle, but he's like, how come they're not a circle by default? He's like, and it is the only time I ever saw him going. He's like, it pisses me off like why they're not like that. I was like, geez, Jeff, that's
something he used to do in our classes. If the energy was dragging, he would just sort of like yell. He would be like, ah!
That's great.
I really relate to that because I mean it is a very theatrical way to respond to the energy in a room. It's like, oh, there actually just needs to be a different sound.
Yeah. Yeah, different tone. Yeah. Are you about to yell? I can't tell if you're.
No, but I don't think we need to change the energy, so.
Okay, good. You paused for a second, so I wasn't sure. Maybe you just.
I was looking up. I know. I was like, I have a lot.
Yeah, it looks great.
Watching at home.
Shout out oatmeal. Yeah, Quaker Oats, please sponsor me. I will be the next Barbara Bush that you put on the can.
Wow, she was on the can.
The Quaker Oats guy. That's an old Paul Mooney joke. He got That's just Paul Mooney. Paul Mooney was the comedian for Chappelle's Show, or he's like one of the main writers. And he did a bunch of stuff. I think he wrote for Richard Pryor, but he's like, he also did like his own comedian. But the one time I think he got kicked off stage was when he said Barbara Bush was the Quaker Oats guy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so it's just been burned in my head every time I think about oatmeal now. What was I going to say? It's funny. Yeah, so falling asleep. I actually, Susan Laurie Parks. That was the one. This is how I knew I'm not a theater person. And not that I do like the theater, but I'm like, nah, I don't like the theater like I like movies as much, because she came and gave a talk at Puget Sound when I went there, and everyone was like super Pulitzer Prize winner, super excited. I did fall asleep during her talk, even though she was just like making noises the whole time and everything. And everyone at the like next day was like, "Oh my God, it was so amazing. What'd you like about the talk?" I was like, "That was a fantastic talk." I can't even point to one thing I like, because I was asleep within like 15 minutes. But that was when it was fucked up on Puget Sound's part, because they put me in a work study job where I had to get up at 3 a.m. And doing balloons. They gave me a work study job. Yeah, I think it's like the Apple reaction thing. They gave me a work study job where I was like unloading, like to the food service thing. I was like unloading boxes and then like stocking at like 3 a.m. That was my work study job from like 3 to 8. So I'd go like 3 to 8, 3 to 9. And so anytime, like I was just tired all the time, because like I go 3 to 8, 3 to 9, then I would have class at like 11. Yeah. Like 3 a.m. to 9.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I'd like try and stay up, but then I would just like fall asleep from like 10:30 to 2, miss class, wake up, watch Jerry Springer, and then like just like kind of just be in and out of sleep throughout the day. And it was like that for weeks, just sort of like losing weeks. Then waking up and just drinking and smoking weed and whatever. And yeah, so that was, yeah, I was tired a lot at that school. This is now turning to, thank you for being such a nice therapist, Molly. This is nice. This is unpaid. Yes, okay, so 13 out of 10 for Morgiana, a 10 out of 10 for 10 out of something for Written on the Wind. So yeah, do you so you in general, is that like, do you prefer like a less sort of, I guess, melodramatic style for, or I guess, what did you like about Morgiana so
Morgiana
much?
was melodramatic, to be fair. So
Yeah, that's because that's what I was wondering. I was like, I was about to say less, but it's like it was pretty over the top as well, which I
uh,
liked.
I think I would have liked Written on the Wind better if if Lauren Bacall's character was like a little bit more real and that
Mm,
the romance was like more understandable. It felt kind of flimsy. Um,
yeah, I agree with
and
that.
the thing I really liked about Written on the Wind, and it's like one of the best, and I'm sure you relate to this, is that the sets were so cool. I loved all of the Texas, just like wasteland highway,
Yeah,
so amazing. And actually, one of my favorite things about any movie, like to me, when I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a great movie, is when they let the set speak for itself for a second before they do anything with it.
yeah,
Because that to me feels very like a play. And the my favorite movie that does this is M.
mm,
Do you remember that
First Line.
movie?
Yeah, I just talked about it on my channel. Because I
I
just got
love.
just bought
mm,
Rancho Notorious by him somewhere. Yeah,
I love how that movie, especially, they let you sit with every single set piece for like 3 seconds before
yeah,
anyone enters. And I think it's
yeah.
just a great way to let you, like you were saying, repeat the theme of the movie and let it sink in 5 different ways, which is that reminds me of. I mean, I know that movies do that too, but um,
Well, it's different. I think the style's
that
gone
reminds
away.
me of place.
Me and my buddy
Yeah, yeah.
rip a lot on like we call them like, no offense, well, kind of, well, I love The Lighthouse and I love The Witch, but I haven't seen The Northman, but I hated Nosferatu. And
Yeah,
part of
me
it
too.
is like, yeah, it's like, yeah, we've been there's like a fucking nerd movies, I guess, because like they're so like, it seems like there's like, when you hear about some of the movies in like Nosferatu, it's like I heard so much about like, oh, it's historically accurate costumes and it's historically accurate this and historically accurate that. It's like I just do not give a shit. It just person. I'm not saying this right or wrong,
Absolutely.
but it's like that is not what I'm looking for in a thing of whether it's like I want the story and like the I want costumes. I just want costume design for costume design. I want to see. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't know. So
There's that's I was literally wrote this down as something I wanted to talk about. Is just like the trend of like wanting realism. It's
yeah,
like this it doesn't that phrase is so loaded and means so many different things to so many different people to and okay, one and this has to do with musicals is for example, something I always am always thinking about is the recreation of West Side Story. They really went, in my opinion, went for this kind of more realistic, which once again is so loaded and
is that like the new Spielberg one?
uh-huh.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but
For
realistic.
example, yeah, they went more realistic. So for example, a scene that they changed uh is when they first meet at the dance. In the original, they meet, and in the stage version, it's very similar, where they meet on stage and in the middle of the dance floor. And it's like time stops, and like everyone else around them is kind of like slow mo or frozen. And like
Mm,
there is just like a light on the couple, and it's like hands touching, and it's like this, chaste
yeah.
hands dance. In the new version, they meet under the bleachers.
Mm,
So instead of choosing the choice that makes it more thrilling and more like exciting and more fantastical in the middle of the dance floor. They put it in literally what is a disgusting place of filth, of drugs and sex in a high school, under the bleachers. I found it offensive. So
That's like a Bosley Crowther review. Shout out Bosley Crowther. He hated a lot of these movies in the 50s and 40s. Anytime anyone would be like, there'd be like a hint of sex, he'd be like, this is moral perversion. He was like the New York Times guy. Yeah.
Interesting.
That is yeah, I haven't seen the new one. I do love the old one, and I think I actually saw a stage production of it. But yeah, that drives me. They put it under the bleachers. That's so weird. Like, yeah.
And they also, the other problem with it is they added, so I it's so crazy. I think, I don't know, but I think part of the recreation of the movie was that they wanted to add more characterization and depth to the Puerto Rican characters, because the creators of the original, in their own words, had never spoken to a Puerto Rican person. So it's like, okay, fair. But in this new version, then they hire who? Tony Kushner, who Steven Spielberg and Justin Peck to be the creators, and then Tony Kushner just like adds more lines. So it's because the movie is the text itself is so rich, and everyone loves the songs, everyone loves the dances. So you're not going to really mess with that. So what they did was just add more lines, like more dialogue, and all of the dialogue is very I'm sorry, I'm going on this rant, but
speak your truth, Molly.
But it's related. They added more lines, and they're very sociological. Like the characters are talking about their material circumstances and their place in society, which just like is not it's not how people talk, and it just deadens the plot. So anyway, this is realism.
Yeah, the that's sad. It's like, damn, they even got Spielberg, because I was, I'm planning video on the Melodrama, and like one of the things I'm probably going to say is I think the main sort of even exposure, I think it's probably difficult for a lot of people to like watch Melodrama if they immediately watch it, because like there's both a ton of exposure to it and no exposure to it. There's like a ton of exposure to it in like reality TV. Honestly, even in like whatever you would call your comedy style, or like your videos that you're working, like they're pretty, like they're kind of over, like they're a bit over the top in like a good way. I mean, like in
what
like
the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. As she says, as she's dancing like a baby in the middle of a like surrounded by skyscrapers. Great background choice. Or the honestly, even like it's the worst thing in the world to ask a comedian to explain their bits, right? But I'm not going to ask you to do that. But I will say, reviewing your bits live on camera to you, she has a great one also about like crossword clues, and it's like, just sort of like, it's probably saying like crossword clues exactly, but it's like, I can't even think of one, but it's like, pack of cards mildly, but it's like almost like just kind of like exaggeratingly kind of pointing out the ridiculousness of these. So I feel like people with TikTok and everything, because the algorithm and everything is so like, it kind of rewards like kind of bigger reactions and like everything else. Like it's both like more melodramatic, but also from a fictional standpoint, the style of movies and TV shows in general is so like rooted in realism and natural lighting and like, diegetic music even, and like lesser stuff that like you don't really get it from like a fictional standpoint, except I think probably the only exposure people have is like Spielberg stuff, and Twin Peaks is like, and like David Lynch is like probably the like, which honestly that was like probably my first like big like I love all the non fucked up parts of Twin Peaks, just like the high school drama part, it's just like I just love that stuff. Probably my favorite scene in the whole show is like from the opening episode when I always mix up the ladies' names, but they're in high school and they realize that Laura Palmer's not here, and they sort of announce it over school that like, she's dead or whatever. And like you have that girl just run out screaming right before. And then what's her face? was it Laura Flynn Boyle, I think, like realizes it before anyone else does and just starts crying, and then the heavy music plays. It's like that's melodramatic as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just don't have a lot of exposure to it, I think, otherwise. Which got
We're back now. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think I got
That's
interrupted, but
awesome.
yeah, leaving that spiel. Sorry,
And
go ahead.
we just watched Straight Story the other night. Have you seen that?
No, I started it one time, and then me and my ex got into a fight, and then we stopped.
Was it related to the movie?
No,
Okay.
thankfully.
Then I won't
Yeah.
pry. And there's only one amazing scene. And there's this woman who, he like comes upon this woman who's just hit a deer. And he's just like this like nice grandpa. And he's like, hey, like, how are you doing? She's like, I'm not fine. This is the 13th deer I've killed in a week. And he's like, oh, how can I help you? You can't help me. So shout out, that scene was amazing.
Yeah.
But to me, even that is like it it's still slightly beyond what Written on the Wind was. Like the acting style was kind of like I think if it had been more crazy, I don't know.
And Written on the Wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I
don't
did.
know.
Totally agree with your stuff on or with your comment on like on Bacall. I kind of wonder like that's where I wonder like is it like almost you and I as millennials? I would assume you're a millennial or whatever you are. Younger folk, certainly not the same generation as Lauren Bacall, right? Or the original audience of the movie. I would think. Uh,
Mhm.
but I kind of wonder, like, not that it's, 100% cheeky for women, but I'm kind of curious, like, that was one thing I sort of thought, like, her and Rock Hudson are kind of like flatter in this because I think
Yeah.
like um, probably like more of like the interesting parts, which I think this is one of the movies I put on my list of like Monster Mellow, like Bride of Frankenstein type shit, because I think it's like a Bride of Frankenstein type movie for Robert Stack and Dorothy Malone, who are like the true people in the movie. And I feel
Mhm.
like probably Bacall and Hudson are almost a little bit flatter sort of like by necessity of like almost playing like the straight man type of role,
Yeah.
like if
Right.
that makes sense. I think
Mhm.
like just to give like Malone and Robert Stack like room to just fucking go nuts. Which are you an unsolved mystery? This is why I think I started a story about shout out my brother Ty. My brother Ty is like a huge like unsolved mysteries fan, and so he cannot watch this movie. Every scene, he's just dying laughing just because it's Robert Stack is the voiceover for Unsolved
Mm.
Mysteries. And in this movie, if you haven't watched it, viewers, shout out for getting this far through the episode. But he's playing like a very closeted, possibly trans, um, like coded character. And the rest of his career, he was like doing Law and Order guys, and he was doing like Unsolved Mysteries voiceovers, and he's just totally the opposite. But it's like one of the most brilliant performances, like his one I've ever seen. He has the eyes of a
Mhm.
fucking lunatic in this movie.
Yeah.
Like he is just so, and that's not to say I'm. Hopefully that sounded really queer bashy. I'm not saying that at all. Like in terms of his character, but he's just like he's dealing with so much shit in this movie that he's like, yeah, I don't know. So I kind of like I wonder. And the other thing, someone I think it might have said it in like the essay that came with the book, but they're sort of calling out that like I think audiences might have sort of assumed that like, well, Bacall's like, because it doesn't make sense why she goes with him. Like even from the start,
Mhm.
she's not into him. Like she's just not into Robert Stack. But it's like, well, he's rich, but also like
Mhm.
she's like sort of like, I think she was like sort of perceived to be slightly older at this time. So she's like kind of
Mm.
like, well, this might be my last off ramp to like, if I
Right.
don't go with this guy, then I'm gonna have to like, have some like normal like lower middle class or middle class life or whatever else, um, as opposed to like, well, at least be comfortable with him. And then I think honestly, she pities him. I think that's like the big, which is
Yeah.
even worse than everything because she like just starts to feel bad for him, which I do too. But marrying a guy for that seems crazy.
How quickly pity turns to love. Sondheim.
That's
That's a Sondheim lyric. Yeah.
that's nice. I think I know that.
That's
Yeah.
from Passion, which is a great musical. Free on YouTube, everyone.
Okay. Sweet. How quickly pity turns to love. That could be a sub. Like, and then not. I don't like. Well, I think she's always like. She just feels bad for him. I think everybody feels bad for him. It's like
Yeah.
this is a really weird. I feel like it's a really weird movie for what's the term like? you know, because the monster stuff, it's like I'm used to like, you know, Bride of Frankenstein. It's like, well, maybe like Frankenstein's monster in that movie, like he's like kind of disability coded, autism coded. There's like a bunch of queer themes in that movie, or like, you know, Leave Her to Heaven. She's like obviously lady in the 40s, housewife. She's claustrophobic. She probably has BPD. Like all the like the eras, she's like autistic. But this is like sort of the rare like kind of straight male other, where he's just like it's
Mm.
almost like a short guy other. Like he kind of has like, you know, like
He's
his
short coated.
yeah, he's kind of short coded. He's he's kind of like short coded, and he's like impotent coded, which like, you know, it's like a
Yeah.
very dark fear for a lot of men to be short. No, no, to be like, you know, to like impotence and to like, you know, you have like, I honestly, I'd probably have the same psychology if my best friend was Rock Hudson. So I don't blame him at all.
Right.
You know, just like if I'm next to the most gorgeous man like of the 50s and 6'4" and strapping, you know, but
It's
yeah,
true. I have met people who are insecure about their best friend's looks.
yeah, story of my life. You should have seen my friend Jared in high school. Hot guy Jared. Shout out Jared. Um, no, I was,
H
he was
G
like,
J.
yeah, classic himbo. He was great. I love Jared. He kind of had Rock Hudson energy. Um, try and keep that in. But yeah, I thought it was that, but then, you know, that was sort of like that's the sort of I feel like the straight male take on it is like the impotence and the short guy energy and like the,
Mhm.
you know, the insecure guy. But I feel
Mhm.
like the trans energy is from what I'm reading, and then I tried to like pay attention to it more this time. Was I think it's like kind of like an issue of like where Dorothy Malone should have been born the guy, like in terms of
Oh,
like
right.
gender expectations, and Robert Stack should have been born the girl because like he's like weaker and he's like, you know, he's they're both attracted to Rock Hudson, but like I feel like even the thing with the dress I thought it was interesting, like Dorothy Malone, it's almost like she's finally got her sort of wish of like being sort of like being able to exist in the world. Like it she's not able to exist in the world as she is because she wants to like, you know, it even the way I was about to say in my head, she wants to slut out. It's like, you know, she wants
Mhm.
to go with all these guys, but like that would not be a problem if she's a guy. Like none of her behavior, I mean, a lot
Mhm.
of some of her behavior would, but like the sexual expression, she's trapped because she's a lady and she's not allowed to do it, and it's like all the
Mhm.
shame. But Robert Stack also is a straight dude. He can't be weak. He can't be sort of like weak and be a small bean and like be this other stuff. And so like that I thought was sort of fascinating watching it through that lens this time of like, well,
Mhm.
what if these people switched genders, they probably would have had like in the 50s, like in 40s and 50s, like probably a much just happier natural expression of their life. Um,
This is
if
sort
that
of
makes sense.
the dad basically had a gay son and thought daughter and died.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They were like gay son or thought daughter, and he said pull the trigger.
yeah. This is in yeah. I wrote in my notes. This is very Delmer Daves coded. Shout out. I don't know if you've seen in my videos on Delmer Daves, but
Mm-mm.
it's like a lesser known director I'm going through. The dad dies due to his daughter slutting out in like probably 10 of his movies. Every one of his movies
Whoa.
is yeah, he's got the most crazy
Wow.
psychology. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, see, this is the type of
yeah.
stuff I can't be watching.
Oh, why not?
Because as I was saying, I'm like, it just, I don't know. Well, I guess it depends on how it's handled, but it just kind of pisses me off.
Why does it piss you off?
I think it pisses me off because I'm like, well, once again, it's just like, it feels unexamined sometimes, where it's just like, oh, yeah, of course he would kill himself because his daughter's a slut.
Well, I guess like is it do you when you're interpreting like movies or viewing them, is it like are you viewing them more like do you prefer it when they're sort of more intentional? Do you view generally every piece of art that's constructed like that as like highly intentional? If that makes sense? Because the Cirque thing seemed very
Well, I mean,
intentional, but
all I can control is how I respond to it, and it's just like, well, how does this make me feel? Because I don't really see movies as like a person. I haven't seen as many movies as you have, and I don't really watch them um as like a movie maker. I don't really think of them in that way. I think I more see movies as like plots, because I think that's just like I have more experience like reading plots and stuff like that.
gotcha.
So if I don't know.
Is that so? You were saying like that's the you like you when you were getting movies off of like not getting movies, but like choosing which movies, like seeing stuff on Tumblr or whatever. I guess like is that are those generally the types of movies that are more, I don't know, is it like the content like the Morgiana was like more of like a like women focused story, I guess, if that makes sense, rather than some of
Yeah.
these other ones that's like empathizing with them with the man. Because one of my exes, and shout out one of my exes, like she just would just doesn't give it. She just didn't give a shit about male stories. She was just like, I don't really care about them. It's just like I'm just tired of seeing them. I don't want to see them. It's just not
Yeah.
really interesting to me. And I'm not shaming you or her or anybody, but just more curious.
Yeah, I saw that there was a stylish woman in
You're
Morgiana.
like stylish woman, yeah,
And so I said, yes, please. It, because s- style, is a form of being able to identify yourself and having some type of identity. Um, so that's important.
yeah. Some great fits in that movie. I thought Morgiana. It was interesting that you hadn't seen it because I it felt very, from what I understand of your internet presence, there was a lot of Molly coded shots in there, just in like physical movements and behaviors, like just
Yeah.
the way you do on your things. Did you
So
find
this
that?
is yes, and here's some things I read up on Hertz. I didn't know about him before, but here's some things I learned. One, he was in a concentration camp as a child.
Yeah.
Two, oh yeah, Ravensbrück, I think. Oh yeah. Oh my God. I also didn't know about this. I know people talk about how like a lot of like companies that still exist like profited from uh Nazism, but Siemens employed quote unquote the people there.
Yeah.
Siemens. Oh my God.
I'm gonna
Anyway,
throw in because I don't know any of the history, but just for the official stance of the podcast is allegedly on everything. I'm not saying Molly's a liar or that Siemens is a liar, but I don't know the law around any calling out. If you
Siemens.
assisted,
All
I
right.
will say the official stance of the pod is also if you assisted any part of the Holocaust, we're not big fans of you. But allegedly on everybody who's potentially did that or not, just officially. Allegedly
So
Siemens, allegedly Bayer, allegedly Porsche, allegedly a lot of these companies. You know.
something I really liked about him is he studied theater, not film, and he actually was a puppeteer. He studied puppetry, and he also wanted to be like the Czech version of Monsieur Hulot, which
Mm,
for the Anglo people, like Mr. Bean.
Jacques Tati.
Uh, so I love that. You can tell he's like a very funny person, and something I read in this interview with him was that he was like, uh, when there's no humor in a film, people will find it anyway. And they laugh at scenes that the director did not mean to be funny. And I thought that was so cool. And I think that's awesome. It's just a good mentality for any type of art you're making. It's like, you need to have some element of humor. Otherwise, it's going to be
Yeah.
cringe.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've always like, yeah, that both these movies I thought were, even though they're very dark, they're very funny. And I tend to like, I think that's actually another reason I think Country's prime for a melodramatic return is yeah, I mean like there's so many controversies about like theater audiences laughing at like not like theater but like film audiences laughing at certain things or whatever. I'm always of the
Uh,
opinion that you can't like it's just kind of you can't control the audience. Like the audience is going to be the audience. So it's like that's just what it is. Like you don't have any control like, you know, I feel like my brother just watching these movies, my brother's a fast because like he's laughing just every time Robert Stack says something, and
mm-hmm.
I'm both laughing because my brother's laughing, but I'm also like just feeling extremely tore up over like how sad this character is. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Your Hers is interesting. Have you seen The Cremator? That was the other movie by him that I've
No, I
seen.
wrote it down
Yeah,
because it sounds like that's like his piece that everyone knows him for.
it's dark. It's like the Zone of Interest. If you've seen Zone of Interest, the movie that came out last year, speaking of the Holocaust. But it's yeah, it's really. I think he's the only person who was a Holocaust victim who made a movie about the Holocaust,
Mm-hmm.
and Cremator is just about this guy in Czechoslovakia who's like slowly um, like joining the Nazi party, and it's just like about it's like the banality of evil. It's like all the same things that kind of Zone of Interest played in. It's really quite it's horrific. It's also very funny, and there's also a lot of like comedy in it. Um, but it's very very black comedy because it's like he's like meeting with these Nazi guys, and it's like maybe your wife's a little Jewish. You ever thought about that? Like maybe what if she's Jew? Oh, that kid that you have, like he's a little Jewish, isn't he? And then it's like that he's like slowly kind of ginning himself up to like just kill everybody, and
Wow.
really dark. Yeah, black and white, beautifully shot. Um, Horrific performance by the main guy, very kind of surreal. Not to bring everyone down, Morgiana's a lot lighter, but it's also pretty dark in spots. I love the way it was filmed. Yeah, this is a great. I've been thinking about filming a movie like the way they do the cat shots, especially like the wide
Oh
angle
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, perspective. They have a lot of shots from perspective of the kitty cat. Is the kitty cat Morgiana? I'm always terrible
Mm-hmm.
with names in movies. Okay, that's a
Mm-hmm.
great cat name. Also, it might be the devil.
Morgana.
I thought was it like it almost was like possessing because does it possess the girl at the end? Did you think that? I wasn't sure.
Now, I was asleep at that point,
Oh, okay, yeah, I
to
forgot.
be honest. That's what my boyfriend was like, "What did you think about?" And I was like, uh
Yeah, yeah.
here, okay. Now that I took 2 minutes to think about your question, which I didn't know how to answer, it's just honestly, it's like I was saying, it's like I became much more sensitive to movies, and I'm still like in a way that is illogical and doesn't make sense. And it's just like over the past like 3 years ago, um, I just basically was like basically kind of like what your ex was saying, but I was just like, oh my god, I can't like deal with this perspective. Like I just like
Right.
can't read. So I changed the books that I was reading, and I changed the movies I was reading, all this kind of stuff, watching. And I think, and I'm getting back into where I can watch movies more impartially. Um, but it was just sort of like a reaction that I had, that I was like, this is like one thing that I like can't deal with.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's my response.
Do you feel like a societal pressure to enjoy movies one way? Because that's like kind of one of the things I sort of built my channel around is like rejecting that of like
Uh-huh.
there's it feels like there's a specific way that people want in a way that I don't know is 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 good, where it's like they sort of want there to be a right and wrong answer about how people process and perceive and enjoy movies. Where I think it's totally valid, like even because sort of the way you presented your response to it is like, I know this is not illogical or whatever, but it's like, why is that any more illogical than any other way to enjoy movies? It's like you don't want to see content about that stuff. Why is that bad?
Hmm.
I guess I'm curious, like, do you feel that there's like a you don't want to appear like stupid or you don't want to appear like, ooh, I'm not like critically aware or, like
Yeah, I think that the like the standard approach to watching movies is sort of like it's the viewer does not seem to factor into it, or like the
mm,
viewer's like life experiences. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It kind of assumes that you have not experienced anything that will be in a movie. Um, so that, and yeah, and it's just like something I've learned also recently. I mean, I'm sure, like we've alluded to, it's just like it's interesting to watch a movie, especially one that you really like, with someone that you love, and they have a completely different reaction to it.
Yeah.
And I've had to kind of get over that. Like when me and my boyfriend first started dating, and I would show him a movie that I really loved, and he didn't like it, I would like be like, okay, so we have to break up. Not really, but that's
Yeah.
like a
No, I totally
modicum
get
of
the
that.
feeling. Yeah.
And then it was interesting, and then now recently it's gotten better. And for example, like I tried to we watched All That Jazz together, and
Ooh.
he was like, "Oh, I like didn't like it," and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Uh," but then, well, honestly, when I was watching it with him, I was watching it in a different light. I was like, "Wow, this." I mean, this is just sort of like this guy is horrible. Like,
Mm.
he's he's awful. But afterward, he was like, that guy was like awful. And it was like, and I was like, but it's Bob Fosse. Like,
Yeah.
don't you understand? Like, it was all worth it. I
Yeah.
literally sound like a crazy apologist. And then even watching opening night, uh, he was like, oh, this is like this is I don't want to speak for him, but basically he was like, uh, oh, this movie's about like excusing alcoholism and like one of the justifications that people make for alcoholism and like
Mm.
addiction. And I was like, to me, it's about being a woman.
Yeah.
And so it's just good to, I like hearing people's reactions to movies that are not so focused on like, oh, so logical and all that, because it's like, that's not really how we experience life. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one way to experience it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally agree with that. I probably would say that it'd be grounds for at least a big fight if a partner didn't like All That Jazz, I think. But that's just one of the my dad that's one of the rare ones my dad was like just not. He was like, "Yeah, it's okay." And me and my brothers like were just like, "What's wrong with you? Like what like you like he likes he's like, "You'll say Sharknado." He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty good. It intended what it tried to do." But the rarest bit of criticism you ever had was like All That Day. He's like, "Yeah, it's like whatever." I love that movie. That movie fucked me up. I did, it's yeah, it was all worth it. I totally agree with you. I had that same reaction. Also, just the medical anxiety. I felt very seen. I did a whole podcast.
Uh,
If you want to know more, viewers, did a whole podcast episode on that in Synecdoche, New York, which are very similar movies, I think. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I do feel I never like part of the reason I do like trade movies. This actually came out because me and my brothers and my friend, we like well four of us. Fridays we do a double feature, where we just each trade off doing a movie because I noticed that like if I like oh you got to watch this movie then I watch it with someone there's just like an energy there that's bad where it's like oh
mhm,
it's like they're pressured or whatever so
yeah.
but if instead it's like now it's like I'll watch whatever you want to watch
Hmm.
we'll just trade we'll just each do something I've noticed that like kind of changes the dynamic a bit where
Hmm.
um yeah that's also I mean I've Ward knows I've had gotten into there's several relationship bad where they perceive that like because obviously I love movies. It's like I'm like, hey, we should watch this. Then they're like, oh, I got to pay attention to the plot or this or that. And I
Oh yeah.
couldn't be further from the truth. I just like I want to take like that's like even if you say like yeah this fuck this guy he's a excusing alcoholism or like whatever. It's like yeah it's like and it's also I think where my favorite movies come from probably is like where they just attempt to depict like the truth of something regardless of whatever, because then the viewer gets to make up their own mind. Like I really like Zero Dark 30,
Mm.
the Bin Laden hunting movie, because I think it accurately portrays how crazy all those special forces guys are. Like just like
Hmm.
how like and like how crazy obsessive CIA people are. Please don't kill me. Um, like all those things, but she does it like that's directed by Catherine Bigelow, and she does it like very she doesn't like she's not saying it's good or bad, I don't think in the movie. She's just saying like this is what these people are. It's like make up your own mind about it. It's like I'm just gonna put this truth up there. And there's a little bit of a point of view I think in terms of the editing. I also think it's a very personal movie for her. But yeah, I think I agree with that.
Yeah,
Um
I that's why I really like Frederick Weissman. Do you watch has you seen his movies?
no,
So
it's not a recommendation.
he's a documentarian. He's made like 70 movies.
Wow.
And what he does is he investigates like organizations most of the time, and he just like sits there and just like films meetings and presentations and various things. And it's so, but I mean obviously he does have a point of view because he's editing, down like 300 hours of footage or whatever into like this hour and a half movie. but it does feel as a viewer much more meaningful because, you know, you are making meaning from something that feels as though no one is telling you what to think about it.
Yeah.
Uh, there's this I if I had to recommend one, the last one that I watched was this. It is funny because there's people like that who I'm just like a big fan of like all their stuff, and then whatever it is that I just like most recently watched, I'm like, this is the one. But it's like,
Oh
and then I
yeah.
think about it, I'm like, no, it's just like the most recent one I watched. But that was it's on Canopy. A lot of his stuff is on Canopy, which is the library free app. Everyone download it, and I. Oh my god! Now I'm forgetting what it was called. Oh my god! I'm gonna look it up. Anyway,
Frederick Wiseman.
um,
Menus Placeurs, the Triglois,
as
Other People's
seen.
Children. As Seen. Okay.
It's about a monastery or like a seminary.
Yeah, that sounds great. Um,
But oh wait,
Go ahead.
I've been. I really want to make a fictional movie in his style. That's all I wanted to say.
I hope you do. I'll be there to see it. Let me know if you want it shot like Russell Meddy, I can help you. I have a camera. I'll buy a bunch of lights like this written on the wind, just big blue and
Yeah.
yellow. It probably would be not the tone because it's like, I would imagine that's the funniest way to describe a movie that I'm actually excited. Like for me, it makes me excited to watch it. But it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of meetings and organizations, and it's like I have a job, Molly. Like, I don't like, you know, yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm telling you, when I really got into his movies was in college, and it transformed the way I sat in meetings. It was way more
Really?
interesting to me. I mean, in person, I think it's
Hmm.
difficult on screens, but I would be sitting there in the most like awful, soul crushing like rehearsal, and I would be really much more engaged because had this different way of looking at meetings.
Yeah.
Um, so that's
Interesting.
one way
Yeah.
movies can improve your life.
I'm gonna add that to my list to look up. Anna Biller, opening night, Frederick Wiseman. So far, I've got in my
Yeah,
notes.
you haven't seen The Love Witch?
No, so I don't. Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
The Love Witch is a movie where I, every time I watch it, it's like a different genre,
That's a great
depending on like
recommendation.
where I'm at in my life.
Yeah, I love that. As
Yeah,
opposed
you
to
have
all
to see.
genres, like a Bollywood movie. It's like I've never heard of a movie
Mm.
with every different one. Yeah,
I do love a movie with all genres for a
yeah.
book.
Sholay. Shout out Sholay. I love
Show
the
it.
movie Sholay. I saw that at Puget Sound. Actually,
Oh,
yeah, I
nice.
saw that at Puget Sound. Actually, no. Oh, I get that. Another funny. First time I ever saw Mulholland Drive was at Puget Sound at
Mm.
9 a.m. in the morning for one of the
Oh,
film classes. In that theater they have that's like under, I don't know if they still have, but like the basement one.
uh-huh. I used to
And I
perform
sat,
there.
yeah, there you go. I sat, I sat in the back, and I thought it freaked me out. Like speaking of sound design or like whatever else, it freaked me out the whole movie because I kept hearing through Mulholland Drive. I think it was my first David Lynch movie. I'm wearing my shout out David Lynch, but I kept hearing like a like every couple like minutes through the movie. I was like, wow. I was like, I wonder what that means. Like, is that like like a symbol? Because I'd known like I should pay attention to the symbols or like what this or that. Try to figure it out. Turns out there was just a broken fan up there. Because the
Oh
next
my
time I
god.
watched it, I remember telling a buddy, I was like, I was like, the way they do this fan sound design in this movie, it's like it means something. And then it was just, yeah, turns out that was just the fucking theater at Puget Sound doing it. But yeah, I
I
saw,
love that though.
yeah, it was honestly to your point about like we all like take our own things into the movie. I mean, every different, that's very like, I don't know, Brechtian or whatever, right? It's like every different experience someone could have. Like, you know, watching um, Night of the Living Dead for the first time, watching Night of the Living Dead at Puget Sound in a classroom was one of the funniest movie going
Mm.
experiences I've ever had because it was a bunch of like, from my perspective, like kind of like very rich, sheltered kids.
Hmm.
And they're like at the end of Night of the Living Dead, famously, it's like uh, the black guy gets shot, like he's the hero of the movie, and then he comes outside and immediately gets shot by cops
Mm.
at the end. Now, what's interesting is like I think George Romero, I think when I remember reading, did not intend it as like a thing of like they just thought he was a zombie. He didn't even think he was making like a racial point.
Right.
But it's like impossible to like everyone in the
Not see that.
class. Yeah, yeah. Everyone in the class was like, is like, no way the cops wouldn't just do that to someone or like whatever. I'm like, even in 2010, I'm like, come on. It's like I just remember just being like, this is like I was like, it was like one of the first. I was like, oh, these people have had totally different experiences. Like, my dad's a defense lawyer, and like, you know, he'd tell me stories of like, you know, cops like stripping his clients in the middle of the street and like all this like terrible
Mhm.
shit. It's like these people are like have had totally different experiences than me, and I just remember,
My
yeah,
my story about Puget Sound and something similar is it's not my story, it's my friend's story. But she was in a poetry class and someone had written this poem about like sitting by the pool and like mommy and daddy and like playing tennis and my friend like they do comments and stuff and my friend was like, oh, I thought there was like an interesting like satire on like I don't know the wealthy or something, and she was like, no, I actually was writing about how much I love my family.
that's so good. Oh, jeez, that's yeah. But either interpretation's valid, right? I guess.
Yeah.
I hope.
Wait,
Yeah.
I haven't said everything about Morgiana. Something.
Well, I was about to
Oh,
pull up the fits if you wanna go through
oh,
that.
please.
Yeah. So let me do that. You just reminded me when you said that thing. Did you go to Southern Kitchen? That's my third up there. If you did, that was near like this little Southern restaurant. Now you missed all the great. Well, for my this is
I was
my diet.
busy. I was practicing improv.
Yeah, I I yeah. I was having no money. When I did have money, I would go to one of those three restaurants. Aside from that, I stole a stack of the $3 off Little Caesars coupons, and then I
Oh,
would just eat a $2 Little Caesars pizza like every day for like 6 months, and just would wreck my body. Just like
whoa.
boozing that. Yeah, because it was five
That's
dollars
crazy.
Little Caesar pizza, and they gave a stack of coupons in the student government building. It was like that big. And it was like $3 off of any pizza, and so I just took them. And so that's what I ate for like 2 years was just Little Caesar. And my room would just be piled up with half-eaten pizza. Like I'd like eat half a pizza, go to sleep, wake up, just like look over at the side of the bed, just have the other half of the pizza. It was real
I love
bad.
how you're like, I'm gaming the system.
Yeah, yeah, I'm like they don't. If people figured out what this would be, then yeah,
Oh my God, I forgot how beautiful this movie is. I
yes.
mean,
Okay, so Morgiana. Yeah, let's go through. Welcome to Fits, everyone. So we'll try and get through these fits. Feel free to stop me at any time. I tried not to take. I always take way too many screenshots, but there are some costumes in this movie.
mhm.
Yeah. Did you say you had some other things to say about the Morgiana? Was it
Oh,
pertaining to the?
oh, apparently, so I mean, Hertz had to go through a lot of because I mean, wait, I'm trying to like, okay, so he had a lot of like censorship issues because he was in Czechoslovakia and
Mhm.
they needed everything to be like communist. But apparently, this movie was saved because people thought it was like the censors or whoever thought it was like sadomasochistic, but then
Interesting.
they it was saved because it was based on a Russian novel. They were like, actually, it's okay because
Mm,
it's a Russian person, Alexander. Or wait, I think his name is Alexander Green, who
that's
seems like a
interesting.
anyway. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, this is like part of the like whenever try and sometimes do movie genres, but like it's part of this weird sort of like 70s. Good news is, viewers, if you like this stuff, it's like there's a bunch of these weird Eastern European kind of fantasy. If you like the look and feel of this, there's a whole bunch of these types of movies.
Apparently, he
Yeah,
also one way to get around the censors was he made for example, Beauty and the Beast, like they
mm,
allowed him to do sort of fairy tale type of stuff. But then
interesting,
they took out all the like horny scenes or something, if
fascinating.
I'm remembering correctly.
I believe it. So we started off with these. We got these. Yeah, these fits are so great. The costumes are just so over the top. I don't think I could do the wigs though. I love this lady's the necklace, kitty cat, great maid outfit. The lighting in
Hmm.
this era of film is just so beautiful. Would you wear any of this stuff? Do you dress like this ever?
Um, no.
Could you?
I liked
Would this be a nightmare for you, or would you be like, oh, this is
it.
cool?
I would wear something with a similar silhouette.
Okay.
Something
Would you ever do the
inspired by
wig?
it. A wig, I can't, I don't know about wigs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, she's, oh my God.
is that a bond?
Just
Yeah, honestly.
reacting.
No, go ahead. Yeah, what do you think? 10 out of
Oh,
10?
I loved
This
this
guy?
guy too.
Yeah,
I
I
think
will say,
that's one thing I liked about this movie is just they introduced him like super quick and she was just like jealous. And I loved that it was such like I really related like I think I kind of felt this way about romance when I was younger, where it's just sort of like you kind of have a crush on everyone, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Where it's just like, oh like no, I
yeah,
you know what I mean? That sort of
yeah,
possess I mean it's just like a very
yeah.
immature, but I
No, I
think
mean,
people can everyone can relate to that. And her sort of like feeling lesser than.
yeah, absolutely. There was another, I can't remember the movie I watched that would have been a good companion to this, but I watched something recently that had sort of similar themes in like a classic American sort of melodrama. Um, Honestly, Written on the Wind with Dorothy Malone and Bacall, obviously I was happy that it turned out to be I think a decent pairing. Um, I will say I feel bad. I'm assuming, well, you said you had a boyfriend, so you are a, woman that dates men, at least.
Mhm.
I feel bad for the women at this time because let me tell you, there's some hideous looking guys in this movie and just in general in this time period. And that, like, I just do not like, he wouldn't be a bad looking guy with a haircut if he got those sideburns, but I don't know. You like the sideburns?
I think he looks great.
Yeah. This is maybe my radar is off. I think this guy and then the doctor later busted. Like, not to body shame people, but just the style choices.
I'll have
The
to
ladies,
see what
though,
the other guy looks like. Oh my god, but they do look, I mean, amazing.
yeah. But these ladies just look great. I mean,
Yeah.
you with the wigs. I'm not a big wig fan. I probably should be because I'm losing my hair. So I would love to get a wig like this. But this was one of my favorites, the big bow in the back.
Oh yeah.
I really quite love that.
That's it reminds me of the original costume design for the stage production of Sweeney Todd.
Mm.
One and this is another issue is
With the
another
barber of Fleet Street.
one of
Yeah.
the original Joanna has this hair that's like basically down to the floor. Because it's a melodrama. And then I saw a recent production, the one that they did on Broadway with Josh Groban and Annalee Ashford, and everything was just like realistic. Once again, it
Yeah.
was like Joanna has like this length hair, and it's like why? Like this
Yeah.
isn't helping. And they also
Yeah.
had the Hamilton choreographer, so everything was like the choreography was very like I'm handing you a letter.
Mm.
Anyway.
Yeah. That like my one of my exes really she introduced me to the tape stage version of Into the Woods in like
Mm,
the early 90s, which is tremendous. And the werewolf just hangs dong in that movie, in like that production. And like
mm,
it's these like over the top compared to like obviously like for a big budget movie, the one with Chris Pine or whatever, it's fine. It's like whatever, but I almost hate the fact that movies are kind of like just fine or whatever because I want it to be really good or really bad. And
yeah.
the stage version of it, it's just like, yeah, he's like, it's like very like gross, and he's just like things swinging, and it's just like I don't know how they put it on, but like yeah, give me over the top in terms of like stage productions. Also, I don't know if you saw my recent videos because you mentioned Sweeney. Kind of, okay, I don't know where it is because you mentioned Sweeney Todd, but Hangover Square.
Oh yeah,
Sweeney
I'd
Todd
never
was
seen
based
it,
on that.
but
Recommend
I
if you
knew
liked
that
it.
because of Jeffrey Block, the professor. He told us about that.
Really cool.
Hmm.
I did not know that. I'm shooting a short. The not at the moment, but the next short I'm planning is going to be probably filmed a lot like this. like these really wide. I really love these cat perspective shots and the way they sort of like
Mm.
mimicked it. So this was thank you for showing because I was wondering if a movie had ever been filmed like this.
Oh,
This is
cool.
like a little cinematography video nerd.
It's my opinion that so I think some of my favorite movies are, I mean, when the director has a really good, I mean, this is obvious, but like essentially a choreographer, like
Yeah,
because it's well, another thing is like I think with stage directors, the hallmark of a bad or good director is
blocking.
what are the transitions like? I mean,
Mm,
yeah, similar. How are
yeah,
you getting on stage and how are you getting off stage is crazy
yeah,
important. And just you even showing that wide shot of her on the uh walking somewhere, just like, oh my god, also, oh
yeah.
my god, all the maids in this movie, the way that
Great
they like
maids.
pop in and out, oh my god. And just the I love whenever there's like a chorus, and essentially in this movie there is a chorus of people like watching,
Mhm.
observing, reacting. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that enacts a chorus in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say a chorus like that because, and again, in the essay for Right on the Wind too, he calls out not that there's a chorus, but he's like apparently Cirque was like very big into like Oedipus at Colonus one, and like that was the other sort of influence of it was like the classic like Greek stuff,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting. The I totally agree on that. You know, and one thing I was actually so when I was watching it, I wrote notes as like my brother wasn't as happy with the cinematography as like as I was. I was really enjoying it, but I couldn't understand why because it was kind of like not bad. Like it's not. I don't want to say it was inconsistent, but
Mm.
in like a way like there was a perspective inconsistence where like it didn't necessarily stay with the character's perspective like or like stay with like from a blocking standpoint or like theatricality like it's like we see this and it's like there was like individually the shots were so good like this is my opinion when I first was watching I was like individually the shots are really good but it's like it's kind of adding up to being like this very sort of like I don't know staccato like weird like kind of
I
like
can see that.
unsettling but 2 days later now I love it like just when I was clipping all these things this morning I was like oh this is just pure dream it's just like
Yeah.
this is just like you got the cat dream. It's like sometimes it's perspective of the cat, sometimes it's the woman, sometimes shout out these daughters. This is like ladies, if you're out there, if you see my Hinge profile, this is my ideal family. I want to have like 9 dumb daughters like they have in this movie or whatever they have. Like that's my dream. Yeah, this guy, this was a
Oh,
terrible fit. Yeah, I
okay.
no offense to him, but the sideburns and then the soul patch, no, just no. Yeah,
I really like there's so much green in this movie. I
yeah,
think there's not that many movies that use, but I've actually seen Anna Biller talk about kind of that similar shade of green. Like in medieval paintings of Christ,
mm,
his skin is like almost glowing green.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That sort
absolutely.
of color. And I remember her tweeting like, "Oh, I wish that I'm always trying to be able to capture this type of color on film."
Yeah.
And I think in this movie, they do a pretty good job of achieving a lot of colors that I
Yeah,
haven't seen.
that's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that because when I think of like greens and golds, my favorite greens and golds, I have like a list of like my favorite browns in movies, and like
Mhm.
the movie The Quiet Man also has like some greens. But when
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's whatever film stock or whatever they were using the Eastern Europeans, I guess at this time, if you like again Blanche, which is like it's a 1971, it's going to be one of the recommendations, but it's like very similar. I didn't really think as much about the color. I thought very much about the color in Right on the Wind. But I guess like this movie actually, I think it just in general kind of fucking dazed me. It's like I didn't know like how to parse it or what to think of it. Like as I was just kind of like, I don't remember a single line from this. I mean, it is in Slovakian or Czech or whatever. But also just in general, as I was looking through, I was like, did all this happen? I do remember hating this lady.
Oh my god.
This lady's a real
Her
son of a bitch.
outfit.
It is a
This
great fit.
dress.
Much
Oh my
respect to
god.
the, yeah, she is
Oh my
awesome.
god.
Yeah, but look at that thing.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah, Blanche is filmed very similar, and Blanche is based on like an 11th century Polish or 15th century Polish allegory. So the story makes no sense. It's just like this woman's kind of slutting out with the king, and then she's has this thing, and then she gets punished, but then she doesn't get punished, but then she gets punished again, and
Mm.
it doesn't make any sense. There's a guy singing in a very high pitched voice to start it. Oh yeah, I think I cut out the part where this lady follows this lady and then hits her with a rock.
Oh
But
yeah.
then this lady's kind of sympathetic to her, which I also didn't understand.
Oh my God, that was a great scene where they're all like bathing.
Yeah, I couldn't show.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, you can't show that, but
the 10 dumb daughters or whatever are bathing in the pool, and then
it,
our lady sneaks up behind him and just plasters one with a rock.
she just yeah, she just hates
Yeah,
But once again, it's like it's such a base like I mean, first of all, I was just like, "Oh my God, I want to be there like in that
yeah,
salty water."
yeah. It sounded
Wow.
fun. Yeah, it looked and sounded like a great time. Just
She sh- she would have been on TikTok commenting like
yeah.
weird
It reminded me.
things.
I think I told this story. I just don't want to tell that story every
Okay.
podcast, but yeah, there's like a famous story of like one of my extended family members hitting his dad with an ashtray, like throwing a glass ashtray at him. But it was like she kind of throws like it's very glass ashtray, like the size and shape of the rock is like
Yeah.
this big flat rock. But then the lady's not like she doesn't. I don't. This lady, it's like she almost like she kind of knows that it's like, hey, you trust you like. I think she said like she had cervical fractures or something. It's like you almost killed me with a rock, but I feel bad for you. Like just the look on this when I was just looking at this lady, because she's also the only one who puts flowers on the grave at the end, I think. And I think she's the one who the cat in my head canon possesses at the end. I
Mm,
know you fell asleep, but spoiler alert for you on a podcast movie that you picked, but we can get to that. Oh, how about this hat? What do you think?
I mean, wow.
Yeah. I hated this lady. I was so glad. Honestly, if you're gonna sell someone poison, don't scam them. Like, you know, be an honest poison seller.
Potion seller, have you seen that video?
No.
So it was a famous YouTube video. This guy acting as both a potion seller and as a knight going into battle.
Okay.
It's an excellent piece of work. And then who wrote Challengers 10 years later, but that guy, Justin Christmas.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Challengers yet. I've heard it's good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd like to. Seems right up my alley. This when you talked about the servants or whatever, this is what I immediately thought of this lady.
Mm,
She's like the nurse. I like the
hmm
kind of Napoleon Dynamite teeth she's got going. It's great. This I thought was just such a strange effect. I don't know how they did this on film. I know how to do this on video. It's like is it chromatic aberration or something where you shift the input video signals, but
Oh. I bet they put
yeah.
something on the lens.
That's yeah, that's very possible. I
Actually,
wonder about that, or maybe it's like the way they did color back then is like they took like three strips of like of
oh,
like it's like three strip Technicolor or whatever. I don't know if this was Technicolor or maybe it's like Eastern like Technicolor or whatever they would use over there. But like I almost wonder if they like put it in at different speeds because like
mm,
if you're doing this in a video, you'd like slightly sit like put the red channel back like or shift it to the
mhm.
right just a little. So I almost wonder if like they just kind of
Right.
you were saying.
Something I learned in that musicals class was the movie of South Pacific. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but
We got
they
sunlight on the sand, moonlight on the sea, rainbows and bananas. We can. Yeah, sorry. When I took a singing
exactly.
class, that was the song he had me sing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie
That's
though, but
awesome.
I just yeah.
Well, it's not the greatest movie, but there are some good scenes. But the people who made the movie wanted to do this thing where they like really kind of went. It's kind of funny because they dyed the actual film like
Oh,
different
sick,
colors, like for different scenes. So like
sick.
Bali High, which is like it's like a longing sort of
Mhm.
song. It's like all blue, and then I think Cockeyed Optimist, it's like yellow. But they like literally dyed like the master film, and now they once they saw it, they were like, "This looks like shit," but they couldn't do anything about it.
That's so
So,
funny.
so that's what it looks like in
I
the
kind of
final.
love that.
Yeah.
Have you seen Traffic does that kind of Steven Soderbergh,
Oh.
because like it's 10 different stories. So I think he actually filmed it with like tungsten film. It's just blue when you're in like
Mm-hmm.
Columbus, Ohio, but then he has like it's probably one of the earlier movies to do the Mexico filter because it's like
I was
just
gonna
yellow.
say, I'm sure
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
where they all
It's
get it from.
completely yellow. But I think it was actually like a different like type of film stock that he used. This was like maybe my favorite shot in the thing, honestly, just this sort of wide angle when she's seeing the lady.
There's lots of like water in this movie, and this reminds me of another
Yeah.
sort of theatrical concept, which is when things are phenomenologically hot. I don't know if you've heard of
Yeah.
that, where it's like on stage, if you have like fire or a baby, it makes it more interesting for the audience
Yeah.
because it feels like more hot.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think that's a similar concept to a party. I think that parties, it's more fun when there's like a bonfire or if it's on the edge of a cliff
Uh-huh.
because there's an element of danger.
Oh yeah.
And I think you could say the same thing for film where it's like but it's hard to achieve, I think, sometimes because now there can be kind of like too much of that type of
Uh-huh.
stuff, like except for example with the violence, like it's
Yeah.
so like dead for a lot of us. That's why like Sinners, there was a lot of um not a lot, but there was a good amount of like violence that felt, I actually felt like it was well done
Uh-huh.
and it felt touching. And anyway, so I just wanted to point out the I liked all the water in this movie, and
Yeah.
it adds another layer for us as the audience, is like of interest and danger.
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of physical violence in today's movies, not a lot of emotional violence, which is one of the reasons I like those one of the reasons I like all these melodramas in this movie is like,
Mm.
yeah, there's not like nearly as much as like in this. I mean, there's definitely some violence in this, but it's really not as important as the emotional sort of horror and violence that the sisters are
Mhm.
going through. That's beautiful. The way this these yellows and the white looks, that is just impossible to replicate except on film. It makes me
Yeah,
cry.
I
And
love
just
when
the
they go to
soft
the
haze.
bordello.
Yeah, some great
That
fits.
was great.
Whatever this lady has on, I don't even know what this is, but nice like slight orange glow to it. This lady's got the tit tattoo. I like that.
Wow.
Earliest movie I think I've probably seen a tit tattoo in. Shout out representation.
Uh-huh.
This guy again, the top hat.
Yeah, see his green skin.
Yeah, it is green skin. Yeah, like an orc.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All these shots. I mean, I really don't remember anything these people talked about. Oh my God, this sequence I just loved as a little aberration. This is like, yeah, this is so cool. I think this is like a screenshot on the back of the DVD case, but wonderful going through there. And then, my God, it sucks being a woman, right? You try and run away, you're poisoned. You come across a guy in the woods. He's like, "Hey, baby,
Oh yeah, I
you
forgot
want to
about
have a
this.
drink?"
This is where I fell asleep
This is where
actually.
you fell asleep. Okay,
Basically.
yeah. I don't think you missed too much then, because yeah, she falls. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll describe it. She falls asleep, and then this guy comes in and he's talking to the lady, and he says, "If you were a soul," this I do remember this because I remember it's like the True Detective season 1 where he says like he's like, "You're such a fucking asshole. You know, if you were a dude, I would give you a gun and so you could kill yourself."
Mm.
He like, you know, and he's like, the state will probably do it. And so she finds this like
Oh
little
right.
curtain and this little thing. And what's interesting is there's actually like super beautiful suicide, super well
Yeah.
directed suicide scene because she sets that little vase next to her, and because she wants to like keep the door open because she wants to be heard. Like
Hmm.
she wants someone to notice her, which I think is like kind of it's very heartbreaking because she's like there's the maid there, and so she makes sure and keeps the door open, and she puts the vase in so that when she hangs herself, she'll knock over the vase, it'll crash. Whatever. She takes off her wig, um, and first of all, There's no way this thing would hold me. I don't even know if it would hold her. That's such a small rope. Um, Not trying to give recommendations for any of this stuff, but um, also the choice to do it on the curtains in the room. But then the lady, I don't know if I screen capped this whole thing. The lady closes the window, which causes like a pressure difference, and it closes the
Hmm.
door. And so she doesn't even notice, the maid doesn't even notice, like no one notices her killing herself.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that the cat didn't actually die, and the sister doesn't actually die,
Hmm.
and it's just like, oh, it was the poison that wasn't actually, it was like, yeah, it's bad for a couple days, but then, sort of happy ending with the sister and the dude and the cat, which good for the cat. But then the lady that she almost paralyzes with the rock ashtray uh, looks up and is the only person to put flowers on her grave, and then looks up and then the cat sees her. And to me, it's like a thing of like, well, the cat's about to possess. Almost like the cat's kind of possessing her. That's what I think happens, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It's all a dream inside of a dream.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll switch to
Loved all the Derricks in the background.
yeah. I love the drinking and driving.
Oh
Not
yeah,
that I
and that's what.
rec-
That's, I was like, remember when?
yeah. Remember when he no seatbelt, no headrest, like no windshield. This is like the most dangerous you could probably drive a car. Shout out Robert Stack. And then I kind of like this is like Predator. Like they do like a this is Rock Hudson, this is Warren
Oh, you mean
Bacall.
the little intro type
The little
thing?
intros, yeah, it's like a sitcom, which I love.
Yeah,
Again, very like
yeah,
Brechtian kind of like it's like presenting like the like this is like very highly like these are who these people are, like
right.
divorcing you from it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this. And actually, I loved the wind. That was honestly kind of my favorite part. Was just like this opening. I thght was great. It
It
really
opens up
did
with a
make me
banger.
excited to watch the movie, and it reminded me of. Sorry, you haven't seen it, but what people call the cheating wind in Challengers. I saw
Okay.
people on TikTok call it.
There's the cheating wind. That's great.
There's
Honestly,
wind that makes people cheat in Challengers.
I love a good wind reference. That was actually one of the movies I was going to recommend. Probably for this would be the Innocents, which I just did a whole bunch of videos on,
Hmm.
which is like the most indirectly told movie ever. Um, because it's like the content of in it that it's trying to convey is so horrific. But that's one of the things they do is wind is a metaphor for her wanting to abuse these kids.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and it's like in her sort of like she's like this repressed woman, sort of with sexual desires. Um, man, Lauren Bacall, great. This is now I think it's gonna be the I don't know when this one's coming out. This is probably coming out. It'll be maybe 3 episodes ago. Lauren Bacall, she's so great in The Mirror Has Two Faces in that 6 hour episode. We spend a lot of time talking about how much of a smoke show old Lauren Bacall is.
mhm.
Still a smoke show at this time. Great, great
Did you
fits.
know
Rock Hudson. Go ahead.
she was in the musical Applause, the Broadway version, the original one, which is a musical based on All About Eve.
Whoa. Where's my
So check out some of the.
All About Eve?
Oh,
Right here.
nice.
Yeah,
So it's pretty fun.
love All About Eve. Applause. Okay. Got a lot of recommendations here. That's great. Applause. I never
It's
thought about her in a musical. That's interesting.
well, yeah, she has like a very distinctive voice. It's not like she can actually, and I've listened to. She has other recorded music as well. It's not like
Okay.
she sustains notes really well, but she obviously has a very awesome, interesting
It's kind of
voice.
deeper, right? It's a little more
Mhm.
baritone-y. I don't know what that's called for a lady. I have no idea. I don't know voices.
Also, I guess.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh yeah, I love these women.
Yeah. Robert Stack.
This okay. This is just a personal like. I think my. I also just like any movie that has like 12 to 15 characters. This movie, in my opinion, had like 5,
Mm,
and
it's
that's
like
just
a lot of
my.
characters. That's
Yeah, I
legitimate.
just.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said that's legitimate. You should watch what is it? All those like Nashville and Slackers or those types of movies that like all the Magnolia, P.T.
Oh
Anderson,
yes.
like yeah,
No, literally
yeah.
when I not there was a era where those were the only movies that I liked was like
Mm,
movies like that.
yeah. They're good ones. I need to see Nashville. I know
I
like
haven't
it was a
seen
big
that.
yeah. Robert Stack, man, these fucking eyes of a
Yeah.
killer.
Would you get on this plane, Molly? If
Oh my
you
god.
would you go up with this guy? Do you think and that's I totally
No.
agree with you about like what the hell is Lauren Bacall thinking? Because like no way you would like go later with this guy, much less onto a fucking plane where he's piloting, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And also their conversation here, it's just like he's just like monologuing and she's just sort of like assisting him.
Yeah.
It was tough.
I'm trying to think if I could get a Hinge first date on a plane if I told him that. I just don't think. I don't think even if I had $1 billion or whatever he has, there's just no way, right? Shout out the extremely tiny amount of social progress we've made in society that women don't feel compelled to go on plane rides with men on first dates.
Ah!
Or don't. Yeah, let's not shout that out. This hotel, did you like this hotel? I love
Oh,
this
I mean,
hotel.
I wanted to go stay there
Yeah. I've
with the
never seen a
blue
hotel like this.
ocean. Yeah. Well, it's because it.
Because what?
Because it's a set.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. The fake blue ocean. It's great. This is where a lot of people do a trans reading of this because he's just like, yeah, I got a whole apartment full of women's clothes
Oh,
for you.
okay.
Like he's trying
Yeah,
to
I
like
thought that was
transposition
interesting.
himself.
I was like, to me, that seemed a bit more like at first I was like, okay, I can kind of understand that like desire, but even then, it was like she had a well-paying job. Shout out to one of my favorite movies of all time, Midnight, and there's a similar plot where she like stays in this hotel and like she has all these like clothes, but it makes more sense in Midnight because she's like has no clothes. So,
Mm.
so it's like for this, it's like she has this like executive. I mean, she's an assistant, but she's like working in marketing, or I don't even know what she
Mm-hmm.
does. She works in marketing. I'm like, she can like, I don't even know why she wants all these gowns. So I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, it's
All the looks, this does not look like the look of a first date that's going well, right? Like every look that it's not look like the look of a relationship that's going well.
I mean, she does
But
leave.
yeah, she does, and then comes back, right?
It's,
Fellas,
yeah.
if you see your date stare out of a balcony and get lit in beautiful moonlight and yellow light on a first date, probably not going well.
Mm-hmm.
If you see these looks, but he's like, yeah, this is happy to do it. He's like, why did she go? This date was going, this date was going so well. I love the lighting in here. My goodness, so over the top. And then he runs a big fake plane, fake set. And again, even when she's like, yeah, I'll go back with you, but she's just so pitying him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this
Which
is such a. Go ahead.
okay, just really quick. I do think that like pity and like love, I think it can work really well. One of my favorite movies is Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, and that's
Okay.
kind of the plot hinge. Like when she falls in love with this creepy guy, is
Mhm.
like it's when she's sort of like taking care of him. But we never really got a scene, I think, like
Yeah, we
that
didn't.
to show a like, oh, if it is pity, like I need to see her doing some type of like pitying action.
Yeah. Yeah. And, honestly, I think it's like a weird, I think it's a weird perspective shift because it's like we follow her pretty closely. Like we're with Bacall's character a lot. And it's like it's almost set up as like she's the protagonist of it, but she's not. I think it is like,
Yeah.
because her and Hudson, to your point, they don't really have like scenes where it's like, okay, what are they really? It's like much more implicit as opposed to like Robert Stack and Dorothy Malone, who get these like great scenes of like where it's just so on like how are they feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one, oh my goodness, this is like one of the most brutal. I can't believe he let himself be cast as this. Just like to keep a little like this is just like the most emasculating, I think, thing ever for like, well, just like the type of gun, like to have a little that gun. I think like this is like such a just bitter joke at like what she's sort of finding out. It's like because this is their wedding night, right? And the wedding night, the only
Right.
thing they should display of their wedding night is him having this really tiny gun under his
Yeah.
pillow, and it's like he needs his facial expression here is crazy, just like smiling, happy under his thing, but yeah. And she's like, "Oh my God, what did I just get myself into?"
Mm.
Hudson, do you see a lot of guys in LA like this? This is my perspective of a lot of the hip, like what a lot of hip guys look like now. It's like the hat, maybe
Uh,
not the leather coat, but
Yeah, sure.
I don't see a lot of fashion. When I went up to Chicago, I swear I saw a ton of guys like this at like hit pizza places,
Right.
just wearing this.
I mean, honestly, I don't really see that much fashion either. Last night I was like at a bar and I kept like looking at what everyone was wearing. I was like,
I'd love to just take pictures of people doing that, but I don't think it's polite. I found. Bacall's great, and then he's like, "Yeah, let me just talk to your wife alone." And I forget. There's like a note he said. He like says something to her. He's like, "Yeah, even just the weird sexual dynamics in this," because he's like, he says, "I think it's Mrs. Hadley meet Mr. Hadley." Like,
mm,
is the way he introduces to her dad, which is just like kind of weird. Like, I feel like if I like, I don't know, like if like my potential wife was like taking me to, or my wife was taking me, is like, "Hey, Mr. Jeff, this is Mrs. Jeff," or like whatever. Be like, that's the kind of weird way to introduce me to your mom. Like,
mhm,
yeah.
mhm,
Then the sisters, Dorothy Malone makes her big entrance. What a
mhm,
villain!
mhm.
Won the Oscar for this. This poor guy, he
Yeah,
tries to beat him up.
I loved the oil.
All the oil stuff in the back. Yeah,
Yeah, where I grew up, you could see those shapes like out the window. So um,
that's cool.
they're on my mind always.
Hopefully not in the same way that they are in this movie.
They didn't loom
Okay.
quite so large.
Again, also the horses, the horse metaphor and the
Oh,
erect oil derrick metaphor in this movie
mm,
are a constant thing. He's got the gun again. He's able to use his gun. He's not guns, horses, and erect things in this movie just go wild. Starting with the oil derricks, the red. To your point about the colors, her in the red car, Robert Stack perpetually in the yellow car, and then oh my god, this is one of the bitchiest scenes.
oh,
Shout out
I
to this
know.
scene.
It was just too much. It
I
was
loved it.
like
Loved it.
the lines in this movie.
Yeah, I think what
Yeah.
does she say to him? She says to Lauren, but she's like, she like, um, I think she's like, oh, excuse me if I just brush you out of my hair, and then
Oh yeah.
Malone says back something. It's like, oh well, how about I bring you a towel because it seems like you're still a little wet behind the ears.
Yeah.
Love it. Give me a whole movie of that. I don't like. I may be wrong on that, but
No, it was very Real Housewives type of
mm,
thing, like you were saying, the melodrama.
yeah. And then she
Very
swishes.
droppy.
Switch. Now, would you wear? Do you wear these fits ever? Would you wear these fits?
I have no situation in which I would need to wear an outfit like that.
Need to, but want to?
Uh, it's like literally think about it. Like, when
I
does
don't
it
get a chance
make
to wear
sense?
these. Yeah.
Actually, I did wear an outfit that was kind of similar for Halloween. I dressed as Blanche Dubois a
Okay.
couple years ago.
Very nice. Yeah, like I never, it's like one of those things. It's as crazy to me as like dunking a basketball. It's like if someone asked me like, would you dunk a basketball? It's like, well, I would love to dunk a like if I could dunk a basketball, but like I could never do any of these types. So it's like never an option, right? And I'm sorry, but this doctor kind of fucked up because you don't tell him this at a party. You gotta like just
Oh
leave
yeah,
the
that was.
conversation.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not the yeah. It's so what's wrong with my wife? She can't have kids, right? Well, it's not. He tries to get out. He was like, it's not your wife. It's like your wife's totally fine. And then Robert Stack just is nuts for the rest of the movie. And you immediately cut to her dancing with the best friend. Poor guy, devastating. More Dorothy Malone in this scene. Yeah, again all the background stuff here. Like, there's no reason for these. Like, what are these even? Like, is
Well,
this a bell? But
I have no idea.
they include these like just like phallic symbols in so many shots like that and the
Hmm.
horses and they're just in the background of like everything as Robert Stack is wording out that he's basically probably impotent and his acting is here. This is some of the best acting I've ever seen. As soon as he finds out, he just doesn't hear the rest of the conversation. And then
Mhm.
again, walks up completely lost and then he sees this kid rocking on this horse.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was crazy.
One of the funniest It's like a sign of like he's never going to have a kid, and also like he's not able to get on the horse, so to speak. And then it cuts to his sister, who just has a talking in front of a picture. Also, this fucked up face, that
Oh
head
my
there. I don't know
God,
if
what
you.
the hell?
It's like a kind of a bad caricature. It's like a pretty racist statue that I don't understand.
Okay.
That one I don't understand the meaning. Like I get the red flowers is like, again, she's like always red coated. It's like virile. She's the one who like can express her sexuality. I don't understand what the head is. I haven't figured that one out. I've been curious about it. Even her red phone. The shadows in here, again, Russell Meddy's such a genius as she's like changing. It's just like shadowing Rock Hudson's face. Beautiful. I wish there was a bar like this. Are there any bars like this out in LA?
Not that large. I do love any type of like large. I like any restaurant or bar that's quite large.
Yeah. It's nice to be in a big space like that. I agree. And then you cut right to these beautiful oil derricks where his sister is getting. And then, my God, this painting.
Oh yeah.
Which, to your point, you mentioned earlier about how they kind of hang on the scene. I noticed that in this one, like he's on the thing, and like this is how they introduce like his office, and like he's got the oil derrick. But then, like before they leave, they just kind of like pan slowly up and then just this is the most fucked up painting. His hands are so big. The perspective, it's like that picture of the Bidens and the Carters. Yeah. Then Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson's always carrying guys in. Shout out to his gay fans. Yeah. Then he's dreaming about Rock Hudson, like he's just talking about like their childhood
Oh
stuff.
yeah. I thought
Yeah.
that was gonna be like what the movie hinged on, that he was gonna like reveal some type of past. Oh, yeah, I love the way that she just like she's like struts in.
She saunters. Yeah, it's a saunter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then she puts on her record while her dad walks up the stairs, and she kills him with her dancing.
Oh my God.
It makes him fall down the stairs, and she's just.
I do like any type of dance or music sequence in a movie.
Yeah. I thought it was so like, I mean, it's like an attack, right? It's like this was as violent,
Mhm.
like in its own way as like any type of like actual violence you would see on screen, but it's just like it's so represented by just her dancing her dad to death with her,
Mhm.
body and sexuality. Honestly, I was kind of girl power on that. I was like, kill the guy, go for it. Stack still going crazy. I love his drunk walk in here. How do you is that like a thing you can learn? I'd love to learn to drunk. Maybe I just need to get fucked up and just kind of videotape myself.
My favorite walking in any movie is Carl Anderson, who plays Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar, has a great sort of he'll sort of fling his chest first, and then his limbs sort of like are catching up with him. Sort of similar but different.
That's great. Is it a drunk? Or is it just like it's like, what is
Judas, I mean, it's the last
It's like a
days
betrayal
of
walk?
Christ on earth. He's just like, he's stressed out. He's trying to stop Jesus. But Jesus doesn't listen. And then he has to do what he has to do.
Some things have to be
It's a
done.
great movie. Wait, have you seen Jesus Christ Superstar?
I have not. Oh, that's another.
That's
so
another
many
really good.
recommendations.
They really focus on the set, and there's not much set. It's in the desert, and so they really let like the mountains and like the rock formations kind of talk, and then they use also like ruins. I mean, I don't think they're all like real ruins, but they make them look like real ruins to kind of it's like very much like an opera where they just have like one large shape on stage, and then they kind of do the play in front of the shape.
Mhm.
Anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've not seen that. I'd love to see that. I'm so underwatched on musicals. I love them, but I need to.
It was really
Need to
hard
watch
for me
them.
the other night because my friends wanted to watch Sinners, but at the movie theater they were doing a double feature of Jesus Christ Superstar and Hair. So
I haven't seen either of those. That would have been a great double feature.
it's tough.
I need to move to where there's theaters that are playing Hair.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I grew up, they would show Grease a lot. That was the movie
Nice.
that they would do Grease
did that.
songs or like
In sixth grade, unlocking a memory, I did that for my like a sixth grade. I was like the only theater back when I lived for a couple years in Amherst in Massachusetts, and for middle school we did like a end of the year show, I was the Grease Lightning. I rode in on a tricycle.
Oh,
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hopefully there's no video of it. Then he's like, Frankenstein here. And he's like
Oh,
just
yeah.
writhing in the window as she
Oh,
tells
my
him that,
God.
hey, we're having a kid. But he's like, no, you're not. You're having my buddy's kid. And he
Oh, my
hits her
God.
and causes her to have a miscarriage. Dorothy Malone, I love her expression here. She's like, I did it. I did it. I got it. I caused all this. She's reveling in it. And then he gets his ass beat, goes down, goes crazy. A lot of, to your point about the water, there's so many reflections in this movie, all the mirrors, and it's like, I think in the thing they were talking about, like reflections of the relationship. Doctor comes in. You know what was crazy about the doctor? Do you remember what he says here? He says, can I ask an impertinent question? And then Rock Hudson says it wasn't justified or something like that. Like, how is that a medical, like I can't, I was
Oh
like,
my
we had
God.
to rewind the movie in that. It's like, did she deserve it? Like, I
Yeah,
could
that's
not believe
crazy.
that. Yeah. I was always thinking, like, how does that affect, like, does that affect the medical? Like, is he just being like a sort of a gossipy, like, surely that can't affect his medical opinion of whether or not he thinks that she, like, did she deserve to get, what did she say? More Derek's. He goes, the guy won't give him his gun.
Oh, I liked the bar scene because there were actually a lot of people. And they were actually like reacting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just I'm surprised that you like, I mean, I'm curious, is that like a movie versus theater thing? Because, you're theater major and everything. Obviously in plays, there's not really background characters typically, right? I mean, not like to the extent.
That's more of an opera thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's actually a class of actor in opera called a supernumerary, which is they
Okay.
don't even, to my knowledge, they don't even sing, these people. They just I mean, it's a chorus, but
Yeah. You'd be really good at that. Not that you wouldn't be
Thank
good at
you.
other theater roles, but I feel like watching your TikToks, you're probably very suited.
I actually met
Yeah.
a supernumerary recently. Me and my boyfriend, we were like at this uh restaurant nearby the opera, and she was very chatty and she seemed very
That's cool.
nice. So
Could you
uh
tell? Could you tell that she was a supernumerary? It's like, you
she
seem like
brought
a
it up.
supernumerary. Oh, okay. That's one thing I can't stand about supernumeraries is they're
Yeah.
constantly like, constantly saying I'm a supernumerary, right?
Literally.
Yeah. Braggy. Yeah, this is, yeah, I mean, so like, is that just like a thing unique to movies that you like, I guess, more? Is it because it's a different medium? Like in theater, it's like you're watching, I'm thinking even like, Streetcar Named Desire, right? It's like there's like 5 or 6 characters in the movie
That's
or
true.
in the play. Great. Actually the film version of Dustin Hoffman's really quite good. I just watched that recently.
Dustin Hoffman.
Have you not seen that? Oh my goodness, Molly. That is it's the most who do you think he plays
What do you mean?
in Death of a Salesman?
Oh, in Death is I thought you said Streetcar Named Desire.
I might have said that.
I
very well
thought you
might
were
have
saying
said
that there's
that.
a Dustin Hoffman version of Streetcar Named Desire, and I was like,
I get those in my head mixed up. There probably is a Dustin Hoffman version of it.
but anyway,
Death
I
of a
should see that.
Salesman.
I've never
Yeah.
seen it. Yeah.
These people, these like the servant people are like, there's about to be a murder. And then he comes back, the wind's blowing. Dorothy Malone's so happy. I love this shot of her. She's like, I did it. I did it again. And then
Yeah, they did a sort of White Lotus setup of this movie where it's like someone's gonna die, but we don't know.
yeah, White Lotus. I was thinking Columbo as well.
Oh yeah,
I guess yeah.
I do love. I mean, I think this. I mean, I'm not sure about this movie, but
Mm-hmm.
in the era of the Hays Code and all that type of stuff, so many movies end in like courthouse. You know.
Yes. Yeah, it's a great.
It's pretty funny. Sometimes when it's like, especially like in this movie where it's like the people are just acting so crazy, and then all of a sudden like we're in the courthouse. Like I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, that's what was kind of disappointing about M was like I really thought that they were going to like stone and kill this rapist at the end of M, and then all of a sudden now they're in like the courthouse, and I mean, I guess it's good. I mean, that movie was like made in Germany, so I guess you don't want like mob rule.
Yeah. I guess
don't know.
one would have to say a movie made in 1931 Germany probably.
Yeah, but then I guess I didn't think about it. It's like, oh yeah, no, actually maybe it should have been in well, maybe it should have been mob rule.
maybe not. Yeah, well, yeah. I
Because the
don't.
government was bad.
Yes,
So who knows?
spurred on by the mob, I think. But yeah, totally. I think it's they to your point about like it's like a one of the reasons like I kind of want to do a video on this is like the first couple times I saw this in melodramas, it is something for me personally. This kind of like took me a few times to learn the structure of melodrama about like these
Mm.
courthouse scenes. It's such a like brilliant observation on that because like this happens in Leave Her to Heaven and it happens
Oh
in
yeah.
yeah, it happens in a couple other movies as well. And apparently, it's like to your point, it is the Hays Code. It's also like the conventions of melodrama. They were talking about it on the Criterion thing again. Shout out the Criterion. All the special features are always so great.
Yeah.
But they were talking about like this is like an expected convention of the genre because of like the Hays Code and because of just like it's sort of like it's like a way to sort of just kind of wrap up like the reason why he has to get off like is because you can't like Hays Code you can't show people doing illegal things and getting away with it or like you can't show like the court system fucking up like it's
Yeah.
always got to be like a positive, so that is definitely like why she can't actually put him in jail. I think if today she would have put him in jail like this would have like a Midsummer Gone Girl type ending
Hmm.
where it's like not that he's in jail in Gone Girl, but it's like more of like a she kind of has a not a purely negative ending. It's so unlike modern movies, right? It's like and there are acting are over the top and all the lines too in this, right? It's like but
He
he's
said
like,
he
oh
was gonna kill him.
yeah, he said he was gonna kill him, and it's like, but did he actually? But then Yeppa calls up. It's like, but did he actually kill him? He didn't kill him. But did he say he was gonna kill him? Yes, he did say, and because that's all I asked, ma'am. Yeah, so good. The hat.
But then it's also interesting because Midnight, it's one of my favorite movies. It's a romantic comedy, but it also ends in a courthouse.
Mm,
But the couple has been pretending. Well, whatever. I'm not going to spoil it.
yeah. Oh,
But
I'd
it's
love to.
interesting that another. It's even though it's a romantic comedy, it's not a melodrama or anything to do with crime, but it still ends in a courthouse. Also,
Interesting.
but it is ironic. I will actually because they've been pretending to be married, so then they get divorced in the
Mm,
court. But then as they walk out, then they like decide to stay together, and then the judge does a double take.
that's awesome. Is it you said it's Horn Bacall?
No. It's Claudette Colbert and
Oh,
Donna
love
Michi.
her. Love her. Okay on him. I think I saw him in Heaven Can Wait, which is
Oh
okay.
no. You gotta see this. They have crazy chemistry.
I, I'm sure I love Claudette Colbert. So
And
yeah,
John Barrymore,
okay,
Mary Astor.
very nice. Yeah, I'll definitely watch that. And then she's just, I could not believe they got away with this. Like, what were the censors thinking? This is not even subtle. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of like getting one by the censors, like it's not like I could see just like caressing it, but she's jagging this thing off. It's like the
Yeah.
wildest right in front of the picture of her day. Like I just do not know like what were the censors thinking?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like I
I'm
can't
trying
tell
to
if she's
remember.
like reveling in it or like because now she gets to wear like the gray suit as you said way back at the beginning of the episode. So it's like it's a strange ending for her. It's almost like in a way I could see this, and I've read reviews where this is almost interpreted as like a happy ending for her, where she's like
Hmm.
now able to, because she's in control of like the financial resources and everything else, she's like able to express herself as like this sort of in a way that someone assigned male at birth would be able to do. And now she has the power of the oil derrick, which is like, yeah, I don't know. I can't stop thinking about this movie. Both movies, honestly. Morgiana, I don't really think about. I kind of feel about it. I'd have to understand it to think about it.
Absolutely. I know.
So,
I kind of feel the same way about Morgiana, where it's like I don't really like. It's more of the images that appeal to me and sort of the attitude.
yeah. Thanks for recommending it. I really like. Great pick. And you're the first person who's picked it, who's just YOLO'd it. So I love that because that's
What do you mean?
like who's just not seen a movie like that
Oh,
they picked. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh.
Yeah. So that's what I've done on several of them, because like the Razor's Edge, I hadn't seen it. The lady Rebecca had seen Mirror Has Two Faces, but I was actually going to do that. One guy actually, shout out Sharky, who's going to be on in a couple weeks, but he was wanting to watch something. I picked something I never watched. He's like, "Well, have you seen it?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, I kind of feel like you should pick something you've seen." I was like, he's like, not to program your podcast for you. So I was like, okay, so he has never seen a Spielberg movie, so we're gonna watch Duel and some, I think, Claire Denis movie, which should be hilarious. Yeah.
Speaking of, Hertz said that Steven Spielberg stole his life story
Oh,
from
for
Schindler's
Schindler's.
List, in terms of just the one scene. The one
Okay.
scene where they walk into the gas chamber, or they think it's a gas chamber, but then it turns out it's a shower.
Mm.
Which, by the way, because he was like, that actually happened to me, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I don't remember the whole story. Oh, but the other thing is, I actually saw this German director who I don't remember what it was, but he's famous, talking about how he hates that scene because he disagrees with that, using that as a source of tension. Like, oh, are they going to be killed? Like, he was like, I just don't think that is like, he thinks it's exploitative of the audience. And I think there's something similar in the clown community here in Los Angeles. I'm like going on my diatribe in the last minute.
Are you about to pull a Jerry Lewis on us?
And so there's this, for example, there's this stand-up special, or it's a clown special called Nate, and it's on Netflix, and it's with Natalie Palomines. And I haven't seen the whole thing, but I know that there's one scene where she is like going up to an audience member as if to grope them. And it's, to me, it's a similar concept where it's like, you are exploiting the audience because you have this like tension, you have this suspense that I think is in poor taste.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a clown?
Yeah, but these people here have a very different concept of what it means to be a clown than.
Are you like a Bill Irwin clown?
No, but I have seen him. Yeah, more like Mr. Bean type of thing, where it was like 5 years ago, I saw this like clown version of The Glass Menagerie, and it was so good. So it was a great production, and what they did was they took and by the way, it was directed by someone who died a couple years ago, Philip Cuomo, so R.I.P. They did it, so they took like the text and they like made all the emotional beats into clown gags. And so for example, if it's like about like the mom is, concerned with propriety, then like she's like, I remember she had a lot of stuff with like gloves and like needing to look a certain way, or like making sure that appearances are all good. So that was kind of like her clown gag. So the emotional content of the play was still there, but there was very little of the original literal text. So, and whatever, clowning is all about like failing to do something. It's like, oh, I dropped something, I'm picking it up, I'm dropping it, I'm picking it up, dropping it. But here in Los Angeles, it's more of like a performance art style that's kind of about like, it's almost like sketch comedy, where it's like, oh, I have this like character who does this thing. It's not as like physical and choreographed as the things that I like. So that's what I tried to do in my show, but I honestly, I really wish my show was better. Like, I did it last night and I was like, there's things about it that are good, but
I'm sure it's good. Probably just
fine.
Self-critical.
Yeah, it's hard to, I was just thinking about it this morning. I'm like, it's sort of a post-nut clarity, but it's sort of like post doing a one-woman show.
Post-clown clarity.
Because it is very indulgent and masturbatory to put on a show.
Why do you think that?
Direct.
That seems...
Because it's literally, you're performing by yourself. You can't help but feel indulgent. But then, this is what I was saying about it. It's like, it's a completely different form. I mean, and I mean, same thing with this. It's just like, that theater and film are just completely like, they have a lot of similarities, but really, that's why the best actors are, theater actors, because you have to sustain something, and you have to like, because doing something for one shot is absolutely different than, continuing something for 2 hours is.
Yeah.
Like,
at a certain point, crazy. Hollywood lost the like how to do villains, because like the way to do a villain is just find some kind of balding British theater actor who's in their 40s and 50s. Best villain you'll ever, like Stuart Wilson, Mask of Zorro. I don't understand when they lost that, but okay. So last thing on here, let's do some movie recommendations, and let's do. So in terms of like, if you like these movies, I'll give you a minute to
For
think about
Morgiana
it.
and Written on the Wind.
Yeah. Also for me, well, you've given me about 10. But also for you, Molly, I got some for you that I've been thinking about throughout this conversation. Morgiana, I go the cremator. Obviously, if you same director, I would do Blanche is 1971 by Valerian Borwick. Also, Valerie and Her Week of Wonders is like a gothic surrealist coming of age story that is from the Czech Republic. That's, I think, one of the more well known sort of Czech new wave movies of like the 70s, 80s, along with this. And The Hourglass Sanatorium, if you've not seen that, which is Jewish Polish Dark Souls, about because we've been talking about the Holocaust. It's a guy trying to internalize the Holocaust by going through like a mental institution sanitarium that is like full of like wax figures, and it's somehow all of Polish history, and it's also his childhood. I can't explain it, but yeah.
Cool.
What do you got for Morgiana?
For Morgiana, I would say The Love Witch,
Okay.
which I already brought up.
You said Anna Biller. Is that like a writer who did a blog about that?
No, she wrote and directed and edited
Okay.
and costumed and.
Oh, she did everything. Okay. Gotcha. So Love Witch.
But she writes a lot of. She's also like a good critic, obviously, and that's how she made the good movies. Is because she's like a super hyper film buff, and she writes about movies in a way that's interesting to me.
Sounds great.
Oh, actually, and Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Okay.
You've probably
I
seen that.
watched that.
Oh,
I have not. Is that
those
Peter
would be the
Weir?
two. I think so.
Yeah, I saw The Last Wave by him, and he did The Truman Show, I think, and Master and Commander. I think is all the same
That
guy.
could be.
Weirdly enough.
It's like a period piece. So gorgeous.
Sounds great. Yeah, I think my brother recommended it. I think he might have it, so I'll definitely. Okay, and Written on the Wind, we got any Delmer Daves movies, but in particular the funny one, because shockingly all three of these brought up. I would have recommended Susan Slade anyway, but Susan Slade because you talked about how fire increases like something in a theater. If you liked for Written on the Wind any of those types of just weird psychosexual vibes, that also Delmer Daves' A Summer Place, and then The Cirque is All That Heaven Allows and The Razor's Edge.
It's funny because the names of these people I really only know from the scene in Grease where she's like singing about all the people, all the, like the boy stars like Troy Donahue and Rock Hudson. I'd never seen them before.
Oh, really? In Grease?
So, yeah,
I
she's
didn't
like.
know I didn't know that.
There's lots of references to yeah.
I didn't know they called out Troy Donahue.
Mm-hmm. As
cool.
for you, Troy Donahue, I know what you want to do. I would shout out to for Written on the Wind. I would say Streetcar Named Desire and Raisin in the Sun.
Okay.
I mean, they're different, but those are just like Streetcar Named Desire because I mean it's just like
Tennessee Williams.
people
right?
yelling. But Raisin in the Sun, I mean it's more it's not a tragedy. But just speaking of like really well rehearsed plays, the cast of this movie, I think almost everyone in the cast, I would say the majority, had been on Broadway with this play for over a year. So it's just like the best, perfectly beat by beat, like perfection. And it's, a family drama. So
Yeah. That sounds great. Carl Malden originated Mitch Mitchell of A Streetcar Named Desire in the original one. He's in a bunch of Delmer Daves movies, actually, so that's fascinating.
Something I like about Tennessee Williams is I read that he was like, I only put men in my plays that I'm sexually attracted to. Like, not the actors, but the characters.
Yeah. King shit.
And let's see. So just in terms of like people being like honest, like I just love that. Where it's like, yeah, like he's like being real and being like, I'm like creating these like fantasies. Well, this made me very excited about movies.
Awesome. There's one thing I do. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks everyone for listening on that note, and keep an eye out on her, Molly McLean. Remove the Y, remove the N, Molly McLean on TikTok, Instagram. Thank you so much, Molly. This has been exciting.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye.
Thank you.